Holy moly, this was a good episode with Brodie Moniker, a good friend of mine, musician that I've known for a long time, and I think of him as my guitar guru. I would always ask him questions about music, and he would always have tons of things to say about pretty much anything, even if I thought, no, he probably doesn't have time for something like this benign or small little question. But no, he always knew something about anything you would ask him, and it was always super enlightening. And this episode is basically like a big long guitar lesson / music lesson, and just a great opportunity to hear from somebody who's been playing for a long time and still going hard, and a great musician and a great, wonderful friend. Brodie is awesome. This episode is a little different because we both have our guitars handy, and throughout the episode we do pick them up and play a few things. And closer to the end of this 2.5 hour episode, Brodie performs a couple songs. I even play one. I still have to look at the exact timestamp of when that happens, but I'll put that in the description when this is uploaded. Yeah, it was fantastic. I'm going to keep this short, so I know the episode is already long enough, but it's so much in there, and I actually wish we could have went longer. But I needed to eat by the end of it. I was so we just kept going and going, and it was awesome. Could have went forever. Anywho, let's run the intro and enjoy Brodie Moniker. There we go. You know what I was doing right before you signed on here? I was just running through some songs, and one that came up was, I want to be your punching bag.
I won't. you flipping the script on me there. Yeah. Oh, he's got the lick and everything. Oh my god. That's it.
Something like that.
That sounds like anyway, it's probably a million songs, but yeah.
Well, yeah, it's
thanks,
just
man, that's flattering. Thank you.
Oh man, it's one of my favorite songs in general. Not even just one of your favorite songs. It is one of my favorite songs.
Wow.
I listen to that all the time.
I praise.
I've been trying to learn it, and I know you helped me out by showing me the chords that one time. And I was just like, but I still just like sit there and I watch that one video because you got the GoPro on it, right? You got the GoPro going on the guitar end, and so I'm like, oh, I can figure this out.
It's a funny view. I love the GoPro on the guitar.
It's great. Yeah. Because you had that period of time that you did that on a few different things, especially with shows and stuff too, right?
A little bit. I think we did a couple of videos with it. I would just rent them, and then we'd clip them on, and then we'd edit it in. Yeah. GoPros, I feel like a GoPro, like that tech is going to be indicative of a certain era for like making videos. From
like 2011 to 2014.
You know, like that, like that whole like fisheye kind of like band in a cheese grater look from the 90s. Like it's just going to be indicative of, you know.
That's the era, man. That is the era.
The one thing I want to get, have you seen that guy? He loves the trains, but it's like a fisheye GoPro, but it's like reverse. So instead of looking forward, it looks down on his head.
Oh, really?
And his eyes just go really far apart.
That's awesome.
Excited about everything. Yeah.
Like an inverse fisheye, yeah.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
There's so many cool little things you can get these days. But yeah, the GoPros were great for just being on the road and being able to just quickly capture something. I mean, now phones do everything. So
I know it's crazy, man. Like I could run this just on my phone, but I wouldn't get the high quality of the webcam that I've got. So.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I teach and stuff. This is like basically my teaching setup too.
Okay.
For teaching via Skype and stuff. So it works perfectly for this sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, like I only have a couple of students that I have left. I haven't been teaching much in the past few years.
Right.
But yeah, I do it through Zoom for a while. But they have that 40-minute time limit on the free thing.
What? They cut you off?
Yeah, they just cut you off. But you just start it over again. You just like
close. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Skype, there are times where it just like crashes and does weird stuff anyways.
Oh, yeah. I can't even use it. I don't know why my computer, whenever I log in, it just doesn't work. I don't know.
Okay. Well,
it hates
let's go to Twitter. Skype.
No, I found that the StreamYard works amazing.
It was easy to get into, and
I was just calling one of my friends the other day on it just to test it out before I started recording anything. And we ended up talking for like 3 hours, no time limit, no nothing. You could do all the stuff that you could do is just without recording, you can use it. And I was like, this is
zucked or
this is crazy.
Oh, it's free. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, and I pay for it now because I wanted to get as much like actual storage,
bandwidth, all that stuff.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'll pay for this because this is worth it.
Yeah, it's a good format.
Yeah, man. So what you been up to lately? You playing?
Well, I mean, yeah, things are getting back to like normal. I don't know. I use that term so loosely because I didn't think things were very normal before everything shut down. But
right.
I guess it's all relative. But yeah, there's gigs happening again. I've been in Saskatoon long enough now that I've started, getting into playing with other groups and stuff, which has been kind of the main thing that's been kind of happening since everything's opened up. It's a pretty diverse music community in Saskatoon. It's a good spot if you want to play a bunch of different stuff. And we didn't lose any of our venues, which was awesome.
Right.
That was definitely a worry, like with everything that went down 2 or 3 years of trying to just struggle through it all. And we've still got all our stages for the most part.
That's awesome.
The main bars and clubs and theaters all kind of, we're losing some of the movie theaters, which kind of sucks, but and the Roxy. So yeah, we're not completely unscathed, but it's definitely, we did pretty good.
No, that's good to hear because it's like, I find that here in Kelowna, it's starting to have more of a scene. Like when I first moved out here, pre-pandemic, and I was here years ago, like before, like I would come out here for like a few months at a time because my family's out here, and there wasn't a whole lot, like not compared to like Regina. Regina was just so much going on for music, compared to what was going on here in Kelowna, and now it's starting to pick up. And actually, Johnny Two Fingers band was here the other day. And
nice.
I didn't get to go, but I was like, oh man! And from what I saw, it looked like it was an awesome show. But I was like, I know those guys. I know those guys.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a busy guy. Caught him at Nest Creek. We played out there with Fancy Diamonds, and that was a blast. We did the pontoon.
Fancy Diamonds.
One
thing I wanted to get into because like I did my research. Okay, I went.
Oh, okay, you got some notes.
You can't really see it because of the
producers.
Oh, there we go.
I handed you some notes there. Yeah.
I went through your YouTube and all of that, and just watched video after video after video after video from Panda Corn, Fancy Diamonds, your
it's
solo
a bit
stuff.
of a.
But it's good. It's good. I was gonna ask you more so about that, like. I know you go and you do a lot of different kinds of things, but do you feel like you're drawn to certain things just based off of what you're feeling in the moment, or you kind of want to just cast your wider net? What do you feel about that?
I guess it probably has more to do with people and relationships. You get to know certain people and you work with them, and it's a good positive working relationship, and it's creative, and you kind of work that way. I've also it's doing like a project and being the sole person behind the project it's tough. I would say it's a bit draining by comparison to maybe working in bands or just being the musician for hire or whatever. Yeah. So I try to balance it with that, and maybe to its detriment, because I know, in some respects, you're taking focus off of other things. But
right.
As far as being like a player in a supportive role with groups, it's definitely it's an easy thing to manage, and I enjoy being able to play different in different projects with different
instruments too, right?
Yeah,
like I know you
different
do the
styles
sax
yeah, different instruments and different styles and stuff. It keeps things exciting. I think it was like what Joni Mitchell said: if you ever get bored, with what you're doing, just try to find another creative outlet and explore that. It's not always about being in something that's going to be successful or is
right.
going to do this or that, or having like some obvious long-term goals. Maybe the goal is something just simple as you like to hang, like it.
Mm-hmm.
And part of the reason that you do the shows is to hang out with the people that come to the shows, right? And it's more of a local thing than it is something you're looking to export.
Right, I get it.
And I think at some points, that makes it a little bit more. It makes it gets it to a point where there is something there that would be good to present to a larger audience, but it's not necessarily the motivation of the group.
Sure. Man,
some groups that it's a little more focused on that, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
I've been kind of here in the city. So when I moved here, it was like about 5 years ago now, 6 years, and I wanted to take some time off. I did a Western Canadian tour with my group.
Yep.
And I had done before that. I did a European tour with Lynn Hansen, just playing guitar, and I'd gone off 3 to 4 years working with Jeff Straker. I just needed a break, and
yeah.
I just started working at Long and McQuaid, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hit, and I was like, well, there's no gigs, so this works out kind of well. And it's cool, like you work in a music store, you get introduced to people, but you're kind of like you're kind of stuck in the city, like
right.
As much as they want to like say they're catering to musicians because they obviously want musicians to work there, they're not the most flexible when it comes to doing that stuff. They've been pretty good, but you can't just book 2 or 3 weeks off.
At the end of the day, they're a business that wants to move guitars.
you're working there and you're there, they want full-time people, and
yeah,
that's fine, and it is what it is. But it definitely I haven't been planning longer term tour stuff, but the weird thing is I don't know a lot of people that are yet. I know like maybe a handful of groups.
Yeah.
And there are things I miss about that, but there's a lot I don't. Like as much as I love this country, touring it is a slog. Like it is.
It's a bitch. It's huge.
And the idea that we're we're not focused, like for some reason we've just like given up on getting across the border to the States and been like, oh, well, that'll never happen. And
dude,
we're just like, let's just fly to Europe. That's what we'll do instead. We'll fly to Europe. And it's like, there's no money in that either, because once you get there, you have to rent everything. You got
to go to the States
expensive.
Now. I just saw something that's going to change everything.
Oh, what is it?
It's the first time I've ever seen this. I got an advertisement multiple times saying, come visit the U.S. They are dying for people, I think.
Yeah, but do they want us to work there? That's the difference, right? And that's
what they don't know, don't hurt them.
Well, but you get caught once and you ain't ever going back.
Yeah, but maybe they'll loosen it up.
As a living, it has to be you shouldn't feel like you're breaking the law just because you're wanting to be a touring musician. And there's so much about what we do that we sweep under the rug just to pretend like, oh, that's how it works. And that's just one of the big issues that I have with kind of the focus of the industry is that we're compromising because for whatever reason we can't figure out how to play hardball. We tried. We said, oh, they can't tour up here. And then all the small venues that weren't even affected by that law got up in arms about it, and they threw it out the window. But really it was like, like Elton John has to pay more to play here. Not NoFX, like, like when they play Amigos, it's not, that's okay. You can still do Amigos. They're still going to come. But they really have a funny way of spinning stuff sometimes, and we have a hard time, and this is across the board for musicians, You've probably heard it a million times from the old guard saying, why are all these kids playing for nothing when the union used to make sure these venues paid us our dues? And they're stuck in whatever year it is.
Yeah,
and we're incapable of we can take up everyone else's cause, and we do a good job of that. Yeah, we're very focused on sharing information and doing that stuff.
Yeah,
but we really have a hard time having some sort of unified vision for what our industry is. And
tear down that wall.
I don't miss that at all. And every time I get caught up being like, oh, I guess I'll get my memberships and I'll do my things and start paying for this and putting my money towards that, I immediately start meeting people and working in environments from like, the trajectory of this is so off. You know, these are the same people that probably 20 years ago thought Napster wasn't going to be a problem. You know, like they're
yeah, exactly.
You know,
they totally were out of touch.
You know, I do end up meeting some people. Don't get me wrong. I meet some people that definitely have like really clear things, but it's trying to get everybody on the same page with it. But you can't do that when the main motivation and the main message is you're an individual,
right?
You're an artist. You apply for this, you do this. And like the amount of jobs just ends up being like, you do all of the things.
Sure.
It's all you. It's you, you.
How do you feel about like new social media tactics? Like I know that a lot of people just aren't doing it.
You know, to me, I feel like they mean what they mean to the person, you know, and I really I've managed to connect and meet some really cool people. I'm really liking what TikTok is right now as far as like the people that are out there. You can run into somebody who's just starting out, they're working on their album, and they'll say something like, oh, I can't mix this. And I'm like, well, just send me the files. I'll give it a shot. You know, like there's a lot of openness to connection in that world. But even just seeing what people are doing, they're very forthright and sharing. I see community in that a lot more than I see in, say, like, you know, applying for grants and like, and that not being like, I love that money's there. Don't get me wrong. It's great. But I don't understand why we traded brick and mortar for that. Why we lost studios, why we lost mobile units, why, you know, certain places sit empty, or we're not funding places for the industry to happen, because that benefits everybody across the board. You don't have to know somebody who's in the room judging your application. You know, you don't have to have all of that other stuff lining up for you to take advantage of those things. All you have to do is get in the room or you know, book the space or whatever it is. And you know, there's some of that going on, but I would love to see kind of the focus turn a little bit more towards that. So, you know, guys like you, young kids coming up, they could have a professionally made music video for next to nothing. And,
definitely.
And the people that are working in the film industry in the province are working on it. And that goes to, you know, and then we present that to the world rather than, you know, like we used to have Sastel Max was doing a lot more stuff here.
Oh yeah, that's right.
We used to have STV. Like do you remember Much Music and how like the shit they used to do?
Oh man, tons.
What happened? Like that to me had more Canadian identity to it.
100%. It did.
Most of the stuff that I'm seeing.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought, you know? And hoped for when I was growing up, because it was like, oh, that looks cool. I want to do that. And then by the time I'm of the right age and the skill level to be able to go and do that, it just doesn't exist anymore.
It all fell apart. And some of the coolest stuff that I've seen them do, and this, you know, like we'll do all of our showcase stuff and they'll go off to here and do these showcases. They to me, they did that, but they had this other thing where it'd be like, we're going to rent a stage in the middle of Florida during like Miami during spring break.
Mm-hmm.
And cart down like Kim Mitchell and like, you know, like you know, and just
go for soda.
Yeah, right. Like this was just the time it was. But like that's the person they're gonna put in front of all these people that just want to party, and that creates such a buzz, you know. And like they had weird stuff like Look People, and like they would do that every year, and that type of stuff to me is like, sure, you know, artist events or industry events are important in their own right, but there's also like this weird like, we need to be creating, and I'd like, maybe I'm missing it, you know, maybe it is out there and I'm just missing it, but like just seeing that like watching a television station and just the amount of power that it had
Oh
when it was
yeah, it's
doing
crazy,
those
man.
things.
It's crazy.
I don't know. I don't see it. And like even looking at the CBC and how they've dialed that back, I would say, you know what? If we could have CBC 1 through 10, CBC 5, John Gormley could have the whole station, and then the conservatives could stop whining
Right.
about how much money we put into it.
Yeah.
You get one publicly funded thing. You can bitch about whatever you
Right.
want.
Right.
Have your
Exactly.
call-in shows and do all that stuff. And we, you know, every other like 7 of the programs that are on the CBC could be expanded into
Sure.
full stations.
Well, especially in the age where you don't even need to actually reserve a frequency. It's literally the digital age. You could have infinite channels, right? They could CBC could have their own streaming network.
Yeah,
like
and they
Spotify.
do have 2 and 3, but it's like, it's every year it feels like they're just like, you know, it just depends on who gets voted in, that they're just going to chop it, you know. And we watched that happen in Saskatchewan. We lost the mobile unit. We lost CBC Studio One. Like I said, that we have that corner gas, that
soundstage,
soundstage, and they finally starting to do films there again because they the whole film tax credit thing fell apart, and now they're doing like these grants, and it's like, it's finally starting to connect, I guess, with filmmakers and get them in there. But I know it sits empty most of the time, and it's
definitely.
Like, there's one company that has like their talents kind of in it, and they're an artist in residence without having to have applied to be an artist in residence, and they're getting paid to produce Sastel commercials and Rough Rider advertisements, you know, that's where the
I didn't invite
is,
you on here to depress me, Brodie.
That's where the work is, right? So, you know, and on a positive note, it's put a lot of power into a lot of independence, and there's some great people doing independent work here. But I don't know, like, I feel like they should have easy access to those. They're publicly funded. We paid for those with tax dollars, that stuff, and people should be just hopping in there and being able to use giant studio space with proper lighting, and you know, they have like rail systems, and like it's a proper film studio, you know.
Oh yeah, I've been in there several times.
Right. What were you in there for?
Several different things. I was background acting on Corner Gas and Insecurity.
Oh, nice.
And stuff like that. And then I was also in university and film school there. Sometimes we'd be able to book it out for free because we were free.
Students. So there is an accessible way through the university that you could use it.
It's not easy, but it was possible at the time. I don't know what it's like now.
Still is. Yeah, I could ask some of my film friends, but
I'm sure the professors would be promoting it.
I hope so. Like,
they were the ones that told us about it. They told us
about it. That's my big thing. Brick and mortar and accessibility would be so awesome to me. And I'm seeing, like I said, I'm not seeing it. I'm just like, I've been rooting for that, and it's nice to see it, and I'd love to see more of that. And it's definitely been something that, you know, has been on my mind a lot when I've been like taking my break, you know.
Sure.
Because like I really want to hit the road again and be driving 26 hours in between shows just to tour Canada? Not really, you know.
Not with gas prices the way they are.
That's like, you know, the cost of it. It's all a little goofy. And then the other angle, and I'm sure judging by the fact that you're doing a podcast, like just producing content out of your home and working in that environment, you know, like we were like 20 years ago, like Flash animation came out, you know, like there's ways you can produce,
you can do
perfectly
anything
good entertainment for people out of here, and then connect it to a large audience. And going back to your point about what I think about socials is, I think if you're focused on them in a way, and what you do, if you can make it work for you, they're fantastic.
That's kind of what I've been feeling like, even with this, doing the podcast. I've kind of set it out from the beginning. I wrote some stuff down about how I wanted to do this, and I've talked about it a little bit in previous episodes, but it was like, if I get an episode recorded, I'm just going to put it up. Like, I don't care too much about, oh, I have to do it this way or cut it up into clips that are easily digestible or things like that. It's like, if I'm doing podcasts that are like 2 hours long already, the only type of person who's going to listen to it are people who don't really care about having easily digestible. They're already in the mode of like, hey, I listen to podcasts that are 2 hours long.
That's the format. And that, to me, that's a podcast. Like podcast, the format is, it's usually like two dudes just babbling about whatever. But
yeah. So, and not making any goddamn sense.
Just like two super opinionated guys being like, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but there's a lot of good stuff out there too. I'm honestly, I'm not a podcast person. I haven't listened to a lot. Everyone's always like, "What podcast are you listening to?" Like,
I would, if you were, the only thing I would recommend is just be like, just type in something that you are already interested in.
Where do you type it in? Like, are you doing
Spotify? Yeah, Spotify. Google has podcasts, iTunes, everywhere. There's so many different things. There's even just like, if you just go into Google and just put in the topic and then podcast.
Of course. I mean,
it'll just whatever. And then there's so many different ways to do it.
But I thought maybe there was like other types of platforms that people were using to.
Oh, there's so many.
Yeah.
The cool part though is that everything's streamlined nowadays, which same with music. Like, but with podcasts, I have like the RSS feed, it's called. And so you just get an account with that. And so you just upload the MP3 file to them, and they automatically submit it to Spotify, Amazon, iTunes, everything.
Almost like DistroKid and those types of
exactly. And there's several other ones that you can use. The one I use is the RSS feed. But it's like, the availability is almost overwhelming, because it's like, I remember being like 17, 18, I was getting ready to play, and I was like, oh, I'm about to graduate high school, I'm gonna go try and play some shows, I'm gonna be able to do this. And it was like, I had to think about my strategy of like, how I'm going to do this, how am I going to go out there? Do I go shake hands with as many venue owners as I can, right? And that is like, and that's kind of what I did.
Everyone needs to do that. I had a lot of fun, doing that stuff, and I still would tour again. It's just, it doesn't make as much sense. And I know a lot of my friends are doing like weekend stints and stuff. Like I said, there's only a handful of bands that are literally like hitting the road and doing that, and a lot of them, like, some of them have like dual citizenship and stuff, and that's how they get into the States and things.
I have a buddy here.
They make it work, and they have it's a little bit of a different approach than just driving, like to Ontario and back, which I've done a handful of times, and it's a great, like this. There's definitely a lot of merits to hitting the road here and seeing. Like,
and you get out there, but I can totally understand not doing it, because it's like, okay, I'm going to drive all the way to Edmonton for a show where it's like, okay, we're playing there one night. We have 45 minutes to play for 28 people, and out of that, 5% might be interested.
And I mean, I think if you're, and going back to like your point about the social media stuff, like, you got to be going out there and setting up whoever's supporting you.
Yes.
For success. And the easiest way to do that is when someone can say, hey, check out this. And it does represent you. Like, you're going through all my old stuff. That's to my detriment. None of that really represents what I've been working on the last 3 years.
I know, it's crazy.
So it's cool that it's still there.
Right.
A lot of people will just like scrub it and just, put out like, so that it does. And then, because it does make a lot of sense when somebody is they want you to come, they want you to be connected. Sure. They have something that they can share with people that gives them a really good idea of who you are, what you do, what you're bringing, and it's and a lot of time, like also for me, I also kind of felt like, do I always have to have something to say? Like that's another thing, like going back to like the two guys talking in a podcast, like
I just never do. So I just say whatever.
I have a lot of things going on in my mind, but like, do I really need to be like sponsoring ads, forcing this idea and this message onto people? Is it that important? That's a struggle I think really a lot of people go through. And for me, it's like not always. Like, I think there's a lot of other things going on right now that deserve a lot of focus, and it's fun for me to to focus on that too. And
like what? Like what? Let's move away from music for a second. Like what? What would you do that's non-music that you think would be...
not even that, but just watching other artists who are performing and doing their thing and seeing what's going on in your own community and listening to them and listening to what they have to say and what they're doing, and not always being like everything you're doing. Because that's the one thing when I was in that industry mindset, yeah, even though you're just meeting people, there's always this weird like, oh, well, where's this going to go? Like, am I meeting somebody that I want to do a gig with? And like
always like an expectation of getting something like a transactional
one of my biggest
kind of
like
thing.
turnoffs as far as like somebody I want to work with is, hey, so what's your draw? At that point, I'm like, hey, you've already established that you want to do this thing, and then all of a sudden that comes up. Like, if that's your MO, just bring it up first, and then we cannot have established that we might even want to be in the same room with each other, like, because it's never been about that for me. Like, when people are calling me up to, like, whether they wanted to crash on my floor in Moose Jaw on their way through town, or vice versa for me coming through, like, it was all just about, hey, like, we're all struggling to make whatever this thing is happen.
Yeah.
And we got to help each other. And it was never really about, I wanted the audience to enjoy themselves first and foremost. That's
exactly.
It was always about the audience.
It's preaching to the choir here, man. Exactly.
And when you're booking your bands, in your mind, you'd be like, oh, well, I love this band. I think it's a great fit.
Yep.
The last thing on my list was, oh, do they bring a ton of people out? Because I honestly wanted to just build that relationship with that person because I like what they did. Exactly. I like what they bring. I like who they are and I like what they do. And at the end of the day, if people missed it, that's on them.
100%.
Now you put that in a grant and you're not getting any money. So it's no one wants to support something that's possibly going to not have any.
Have you ever considered just lying, Brodie?
That's my other point about the indoctrinating element of grant writing, which really is all about fudging your numbers, and making sure that nobody, is the IRS gonna, or is our CRA gonna watch this? Or if really you just encourages, what I call it is it encourages you to be not unlike what we've criticized in the global transportation hub scandal. Yeah. It makes you accept these.
Yeah, exactly. What you need to do is whatever show you play, you just set up your phone for a live stream as well.
Yeah.
And so you add whatever numbers of the people that watch the live stream to the people that were at the show.
It's not a lie. I don't think that's a lie.
I don't think that's a lie either. But it's like, did they pay to come to the show? No, but they still watched it.
Yeah.
Or at least a minute or they accidentally pressed the button on their Instagram.
That's how many people are in the band and I paid them. I don't know. I'm just trying to think of all the things that's in grants that it's just like, well, it wasn't exactly like that, but close enough.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Everybody does it.
Yeah. Well, you don't even have to
keep talking about this.
Well, you don't need to even say everybody does it because it's the same people who get it every year, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not gonna get petty. I'm more of a systemic.
Yeah, no, I agree. It is a systemic thing.
Problems, not specific.
Well, it's not necessarily. I always chalk things up to like it's not. They're not doing it mean on purpose. They're not trying to be evil or anything. I think it's just set up, like you said, it's systemic, where it's like people who are already kind of ahead and have maybe gone it before or have some kind of info that other people might not just get normally. So when they're writing their grants, they just already have an advantage. And it's just like...
I can't put my finger on exactly why some people get them and some people don't. I know what I've been told as to why I didn't get it, and it didn't add up to me, and that was the problem I had with it. Because it's like, if you're going to put up strict guidelines and then you're not going to adhere to them, obviously something's fishy. So I don't know exactly why someone would get something, but I know why they've told me. And when I ask for reasons, it doesn't add up to things that make sense to me. And at that point, I'm literally throwing my hands up in the air being like, okay, well, I guess that's not an avenue for me. And I'll find other ways of producing revenue. And, like,
obviously it's never stopped you. It's never stopped you from playing.
I can teach and I can engineer and I can do all that other stuff. And I'm good at making everything myself. So I don't necessarily have to pay anybody, but again, to your own detriment, because a lot of times they want to see somebody's name on a project that is extending your reach. And I get that stuff too, but I also really like making my own stuff,
Sure.
like it's a big part of what I do as far as the creative process. I love making music and engineering it and playing around in the DAW and all that stuff, as I'm sure you do too. Yeah. It's a big part of the process.
It's funny. I put out maybe like one of my own songs and then like a few silly songs that I wrote.
But what do you mean by silly?
I did those Sandworm. I don't know if you saw that puppet video I put up.
Oh, the puppet video.
Yeah.
Yes. So okay, but there was music, but it wasn't just a song.
Yeah, exactly. I made a song, and then I was like, "This needs a video," and I'm like, I don't have any actors, so I'll just use these puppets that I have. And so I did. Actually, they're in the background.
Yeah, silly. Yeah, I love that stuff. I mean, with Brain Sauce, we did stuff, and like we got written off as a children's act by the community. They were like,
really?
"Oh, I don't want to go see that. That's a kid's show." And it's like, well, we have like Jim Henson was puppets. I grew up on puppets.
Yeah, Jim Henson was like massive.
I don't know, but I think when you're in an environment and you're drawing from things that aren't the norm, like, I mean, around here, the norm is pretty like,
oh, I know the Saskatchewan.
Yeah, like it is what it's saying it is. And when people don't understand
BC now,
when they don't understand it, they'll kind of invent any reason they can to not even bother connecting with it. But
oh man,
and that's fine. It's never bothered me. What it just motivated.
But this is why we've gotten a lot for so long, Brodie, is that we're both kind of in the camp. Like, could you imagine me in the time, like when I was in Hello Lady in Weyburn? Like me in Weyburn, one of the most racist backwoods places in Canada.
Oh, and I remember working with certain people and criticizing these small towns for stuff that I would like had experienced. And like, it's been like literally like, fag bait this and, like, long hair, you can't wear a scarf in here, that kind of stuff, like kicked in country clubs like from behind and stuff, like just like,
oh yeah, man,
never I always managed to talk my way and avoid like any sort of like crazy violence, but it was always around, and you could always feel this weird like, this isn't my place.
It was very aggressive. There's no actual community. It was just a bunch of assholes who needed a place to stay in between oil rig jobs, and it was like
like in some of those more transient work. Yeah, for sure.
So they didn't have roots there. They didn't have family there that would be ashamed of them.
You know what's even worse though? those jerks that they work on the non-renewables and then they put it all up their nose.
Oh yeah, man. No, I know.
Yeah, all those fan. What do you even call it? The fan, like the wind power techs. Man, they're the worst. They'll literally just.
I just imagine that they'll just take those big long blades and they'll just do a whole rail across one of those blades.
Yeah, they're out of their minds now. It's crazy. They're just
well, you kind of have to be crazy. Did you see what happened the other day
I'm
in
totally
the Netherlands?
Making stuff up right now. I have no idea what.
No, I just assume everybody does drugs. I'm wearing my drugs are bad shirt.
Oh my god! No, I honestly have no idea. I'm making a joke because I don't know. Like, is it industry specific?
I think it's people who have. I think it's people who have noses.
Mostly just noses. Yeah.
If you have a nose,
I've been in those communities a lot, and I've had good times in those places, playing places. But it's usually like you're playing the art gallery or like in the library or something that or a house show.
Right.
There's some good theaters and stuff. Yeah. Usually when I start I really avoided doing the bar touring thing because the handful of stuff that I did, I knew right away it was just like. What ends, and this was a big thing, and it's a big reason probably like Brain Sauce kind of deteriorated for me, is because you split the focus, and it's because like 1 minute you want to make some money and you're doing 3 sets of blah blah blah, 70% covers, 30% originals, or whatever you're splitting, and then the next minute you're trying to promote a show where you're just doing it original material, and your audience is confused, you're confused, your band is like, hey man, what should we be working on?
I thought this was a goddamn children's show. I paid for a children's show.
And here I am playing Johnny Cash singing about killing people and doing cocaine.
Yeah. And it's like, well, it just depends on the kid.
He's got a nose.
He's got a nose.
Yeah. No, it's But yeah, like it really at a certain point, I was like, you know what? I just can't deal with all this macho fucking drunk bullshit that kept happening. You'd be dealing with guys trying to come up on stage and play your instrument, and
that's the worst.
You play a Les Paul because it's heavy at that point, not because it's like it's actually like a concern, like you're worried about your safety, and it's just and like even doing shows in Moose Jaw, I would get in yelling matches with people just because they would harass the sound guy as if he tells the band how long to play or how long to sound check or whatever, these people
power trips, man, power trips.
It's so crazy, and it's like, dude, like I know you're on parole, like you're not gonna hit me, like get out of his face. I'll give you your cover money back. You can go home, drink a case of beer at home. It's cheaper. You can smoke there. You'll be happier. You don't have to bring this to this event, and I just, that's another reason I got exhausted, man. I took a big break there and just started doing more like indie rock things and just focusing more on the music community rather than trying to play bar shows and really connect. And like, it just as fun as some of that stuff was, all it took was one or two people at the event at the door just yelling at you because they weren't playing the songs they liked or whatever it was, and demanding their cover back for their friend who wasn't leaving. The crazy stuff over the years. I was
thinking that it would be cool. Like I wouldn't have thought it was cool 10 years ago, but now I think it's a lot cooler idea to have more dry bars. No alcohol.
There has to be something, because at the end of the day, if the only reason my music is successful is because I bring out alcoholics, I have no interest in being a part of that industry either. Like that shouldn't determine whether or not I'm a profitable act, is whether or not I bring out people who drink till they're blackout drunk.
That's what I mean. Like if you had a place like I've been talking like, I know because my younger brother's running for city council here in Kelowna right now. And one of the main problems is that there's no outlets for like 15 to 17-year-olds,
all the halls have outpriced themselves. You can't rent anything.
I know, it's stupid.
And bring in sound. Like there's no way to make any money for the touring bands. Like that hardcore scene was great for that, although they really wrecked that in some ways, at least in the communities I was in, when they trashed the venues and then we couldn't rent them anymore. Like it really. And now I don't even know, even if you still could, I think they'd be too expensive for the average person to.
Not in Kelowna, man. These kids are fucking loaded.
But are they renting them? Like, are they actually?
No, I mean, like if somebody opened a hall, because
it's a hard thing to run. How are you making money though? Like it has to be subsidized. Because like it's all cover at that point, and who's going to pay $30 for a show?
I don't know.
I've done I think what I think we should do, or what I think what might work, but to your point, I'm all for having more venues the merrier. If someone has a way of making that work, I love it. All ages venues, definitely. It's a big problem that we don't have a lot of young kids. I think in Moose Jaw, after we moved away, there's literally no independent artists or bands that are doing promotions. None.
No.
Zilcho. John does like a jam once in a while. Bobby's Place has cover bands, and then they have the solo guy singing, Carry On My Wayward Son at the.
Right.
Yeah. Like lots of really talented people. Like some of those songs, man, are like ridiculous. I've heard some crazy, like I think when I was Moose Jaw last, someone was doing, he was a solo guy and he did Paradise. This is what blew my mind. He did Paradise by the Dashboard Light by himself.
Oh my God.
And just nailed both parts.
Oh,
and he finished and nobody fucking clapped. And I was like, you people would clap for your friend butchering that at karaoke.
Right,
but
exactly.
Not for this guy who literally just did it for you, verbatim, like off the record. And it's just, it's so funny to me how it's just the focus. There's no focus on it. So a lot of young kids, they're not growing up with parents who recognize the talent. They're not growing up with feeling that accolade of being like, hey, I want to do this because I want it to feel good when somebody says, hey, good job. You did great. That's awesome. Please do more. Like it's very obvious to me where the disconnect is. And watching Moose Jaw specifically, a town of 30,000 people go from a place that could support Breakout West back in the early 2000s to a place with like one venue with a sound system. is absolutely wild.
I wonder, like, I wonder if just the amount of media that people are bombarded with, especially younger people, compared to when we were growing up, it's like
played a part. Yeah.
It's like if you're spending your whole day being bombarded by, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and music and all of this stuff all day, the last thing you want to do is go pay for that thing you've just been bombarded with all day. And
yes
it's like,
and no. I think
if you had nothing going on, you could be like,
booked that person who's popular on TikTok, and brought them in and promoted it properly, you might have a shot of maybe building something. Nobody's focused on that. They're focused on where's that 90s money, where's that money? Let's bring the Backstreet Boys and that'll fill, and whatever. There's people that want to like go hard, but like the part to me is that young kids, to your point, there's no all ages venues. They don't even know what a live music venue looks like until legally they're allowed to walk into a bar, right?
It's ridiculous.
It's so messed up. Like culturally, there's a huge disconnect with live music, and there's a ton of factors. They took smoking out of bars. They took a big hit. Honestly, we pay the most for liquor. Like the taxes we pay on alcohol here are absolutely nuts. And like, like I said, like I could care less about having alcohol at events and stuff.
Right.
It definitely
pays the bills.
Like places that pay the bills that way.
Yeah.
And like I've been pushing for when I get the chance to talk about it, I said, well, why don't we play these venues? They give us a little thing. It says, hey, I'm a Canadian band. I played this venue. I produce Canadian content. Here's my set list. Here's my band name. And they submit that at the end of the year and get a giant tax rebate.
Right. Exactly.
And then that can be put into equipment, paying the sound guy. If every venue could had government money paying the sound and the door guy, that's $400 that can go towards paying the band.
Right.
For every gig.
Yep.
And we're putting people to work, like it's jobs. It's job creation too, right?
It also brings competition, because that was one thing that I miss is like, and I love community, but I love competition. It's
there
like
should be a healthy amount of pushing each other, but
like I'm going to put on a better show than the people I'm going up with. Like that's just in my mind, not necessarily in a mean way. It's like if I was going to go play basketball with my brothers or my friends, I'm like, yeah, we're going to play a game because I want to win. I'm not going to hate you or be like mean to you. I might trash talk a bit, but it's like at the end of the day, the game's going to be more fun if people are trying to win. If you're trying to go out there and put on the best show of the night, you're gonna put on, people are gonna have a little more energy. And
I'm a little more of like maybe it's like the golf mentality. Well, I don't know what's a sport where it's like you only really do better than yourself. Like I've always been personal for me. I've never watched another band and been like, oh, that's something that I like watching bands that do certain things that connect with people, but I can't be that person.
No, it's okay.
Do those things. And nothing bugs me more than having the cloned show Tom Vander, what is his name? I don't know. Anyway, the like, here's like, oh, here's guitar solo, go up to the front and do your solo like this.
Right.
And everybody does this when you do this
that's
song.
Garbage.
That's garbage. There, to me, some people can do it well and it works really well. To me, there's definitely bands where it makes sense to do it because the music dictates dynamically.
I will say, I'll be more specific too, though, but because I've seen shows where guys barely move and they don't necessarily do anything like physically, but they draw people in because of they have a whole thing going, right? And it's like the people that don't really think about that, or like the performance aspect of it. It's like you're performing. The people are there to watch you perform. You have to think about the performance. You can't just be like,
there's different genres for that. Like shoegaze is a thing. Some people get that. That's what they get, and they understand why it has value.
But I would even put those people that are in those good shoegaze bands understand the performance aspect of it.
They're
and
doing
so
something.
there's bad
shoegaze.
Shoegaze. Yeah, exactly. They're fitting into the aesthetic of it, because music is such a strange thing. It's like, yeah, most of it is done just like with sound, right? Especially when you're practicing whatever, you're not really.
But you can let people into what you're doing with the way that you physicalize. And,
exactly.
You know, it's a big thing,
and if
right?
that's like
It's
sitting in a little circle, you know, like if it's everybody sits down, if it's like making, you know, you're making a show of it where it's like, if you want people to listen to your music in a certain way,
Tom Jackson, that's the guy I was thinking of. Sorry.
Oh yeah. If you are wanting people to listen to your music in a certain way, you have to teach them how to listen to it in a certain way.
Yeah,
by being the thing, like, you know, if you're gonna be chill, show them like that.
Yeah, in a way, I never want to look down on my audience either, as if I know something they don't. I would rather they just felt welcome, and what they get out of it is what they get out of it. My job is to let them know that I enjoy it, and in that way they're allowed to enjoy it too. And that works for me. It's not going to be everybody's go-to thing on stage, right?
Well, no, I will like this is just me, Brodie. This is nothing to I know you are you're a nicer person than me. Some people suck is the answer. Is that some people suck and they don't consider that it could be a bad show. It's like, sure, do what you want to do as yourself, but be aware that like some bands just aren't aware that they are putting on a bad show. And it's like, you don't have to be fucking whatever. It's just be aware that things can go bad, and there's like a minimum standard of like, hey, there is an audience and you have to respect them, and like you're saying, you want them to feel welcome, right? And making an audience feel welcome is that you're bringing them into the performance, right?
Or like, you know, like some noise artists, it's all about like making people actually uncomfortable.
Oh yeah,
like certain groups like it's about the discomfort about
man, me and Jeremy on the last episode, I don't know if you know Jeremy at all. He's from Moose, but he's from Moose Jaw. He doesn't do any music or anything like that, but we were talking about this. He said one of the things that he wants to do as a goal in his artistic life is to make somebody puke through one of his projects, but like subtly. So not necessarily just be like, here's a bunch of bad smells or whatever, but like to do something to just get somebody to like, it is like, yes, horror. That is exactly it. Disgust, yeah. But if people know that going in, right? Like Gigi Allen. That's who I brought up. It's like, if people, you don't go to a Gigi Allen show thinking, oh, this is gonna be really nice, and I'm gonna go home and have a, you know what you're
once
getting.
Once the word
into.
Gets out, you know what Gigi's all about. Yeah, I never really got the Gigi Allen thing.
No, I don't think anybody.
I always thought he was kind of a failure because he said he was gonna kill himself on stage and he didn't. It's like, dude, you had one job.
Yeah, you fucked up.
And you fucking died of a heroin
and
overdose.
Then that's what makes you puke, because you're just so disappointed.
I'm so disappointed in him. I barfed. Yeah, dude. So many, like all those other losers that died from heroin overdose. You're just another one of those losers.
Yeah.
No.
And a liar.
And a liar.
God.
I want my $5 cover back. Yeah,
we're just so insensitive. We're just so insensitive to this psychopath.
Like, was Gigi Allen someone that you should be sensitive about? I don't know.
I don't know.
Every once in a while, you'll bump into someone that just is so into him. It's like running into a guy who just like loves Charles Manson or something. You're just
right.
Like, okay.
Oh man, have you ever heard of this Hitler guy?
I don't know if you're a history buff or anything.
Yeah. But. It all started back in 1918. He was fighting in World War I in 1918.
Right.
But when he tried to go to art school.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Have you seen those people that are like painting over his paintings?
Oh man, that's like it's smart, but it's also I don't know what to feel about that. It's like, okay. I was thinking of painting over my own paintings.
Yeah. Well, no, they don't paint over it. They they annex it. Like they add.
Oh, they add to it.
Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to remember what that was.
The actual painting, though, like the actual.
Yeah, they've gotten a hold of his actual paintings. Maybe prints too. I don't know, but that was a while ago. I saw that, but I'm not sure if it was a bunch or just one or what.
Is it just a bunch of dicks drawn on it?
Maybe, yeah. That's all it is. It's like actually they just imposed, it's clip art. They cut out a picture of Gigi Allen,
right,
and just put
just
him in
shitting into whatever.
Yeah, just shitting into Charles Manson's mouth. And
now that's what sells $30
that's
tickets.
Art.
That gets the kids
NFT
out.
I would buy.
That's what gets the kids out to these alcohol-free establishments.
I think so.
You replace alcohol with shock
art.
Yeah. Shock art. Yeah, whatever you shock tarts.
Shock tart. Yeah,
the new Howard Stern.
It's a funny time, man. There's so much, like you're right. There's a lot of stuff out there, and it's really easy to get lost in everything. But also, you see a lot of people just finding their niche, and like, there's like that Uber fame thing is not really as relevant anymore. Like, I'm wondering if we'll see the end of the stadium act. You know, like,
once Paul McCartney dies.
Well, I mean, you got Harry Styles, Lady Gaga still doing a lot of touring.
Oh, and Kanye, I guess.
And there's still some big names that can do it, but like, is it something that actually, for a lot of reasons, you know, like the logistics of it, and
exactly. Yeah,
I guess if everything switches over to being a little bit more eco-friendly and green, it makes a little more sense. But the whole, you know, driving two semi-trailers to be at the show ahead of you so that you can play the night before with the other rig is just ludicrous. Like, that's why these shows cost $300 or $400 a ticket. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but like when they do stadium tours,
that makes sense.
A lot of them have to have two separate rigs, and one goes ahead while the other one is being used.
Go set up. Right. Yeah. That makes sense. I saw Jack White this summer in Vancouver.
Oh, cool. Where at? Oh, it's probably a pretty smaller venue, eh?
It was the P&E.
Is that what about 2,000 seater?
No, it was the maybe I don't know the name of it, but it was near that area, and it was like, I think there was 8,800 people there.
Wow. Well, that's a cool size.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet. Yeah. Like I know Quincy McCrary, his keyboardist. That's why I went. Yeah, I know his keyboardist.
How do you know him?
My family knew his family when we were living in Los Angeles when I was in high school.
Oh, that's wild.
And actually the very first song I ever recorded, he recorded me. And then
really?
It was like, his dad was Alfred McCrary, and Alfred McCrary has done tons of stuff like over in Germany. Like the McCrary family has been singers since like the 70s, and his uncle Howard McCrary was one of the California Raisins. And,
5 degrees of the California Raisins.
Yeah, man, it was crazy. And so when I found out he was coming up to I saw Jack White was coming to Vancouver, and I was like, oh, I should message Quincy. So I messaged Quincy, and he is like, oh yeah, come on down to the show. So we got to go to the green room.
Super cool.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Like, and Jack White is just the coolest motherfucker on the planet. He's just
that'd be a great show.
He has the whole thing where now you have to put your phone in these locked bags, and you can't use your phone the entire show.
Oh wow!
So it's like to get in, you have to. They put your phone in, they lock it, and then there are places you can go and you can walk out and go to stations that'll open it up if you need to check your phone or anything. But if you're in the concert area, no phones. And it's like, everybody's there watching the music, and they just jam, man. There was no like tracks. There was no like anything like that. It was 4 dudes. It was organ, Jack on guitar, bass player, and drums. And it was just, every song was different from the recordings. It was just like, they're just jamming. Jack would just take it and just whatever. And the order was just whatever. Cool. And it was just...
I mean, cool. That's definitely a great way to put on a show. I'm not anti-track or anything like that. Like I think there's so many ways to put on a great show. Like, and just
sure.
Things move dynamically. I know there's a lot of people that get kind of snobbish about certain things, and I see that a lot. And again, like divisive stuff, and it's like
I more so just get bored. If it's exactly the same as what I could hear on the album, I get bored.
Yeah, like why wouldn't I just put on the record? I would rather see people enjoying the event, you know,
right?
like
if they use tracks and they can make it interesting and different, and it's like I'm cool with that.
And I've seen some bands like they have some songs that are track heavy and some songs that aren't, and when there's still a way to produce or not produce, but just have an interaction with the band members musically and the audience, it always works, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Like it's just another thing you can do to add an element of dynamics to what you're doing. And some people do it really well, and some people it just, yeah, like you say, it kind of overshadows, I think, maybe the nature of music. But then to that point, there are some people who get mad when it doesn't sound exactly like the record. Yeah. So these poor singers nowadays that just get,
I think that's why Jack White has an advantage, though. Jack White has an advantage over all these other artists because he's established himself as a weird guy.
He's established himself as somebody who's going to deliver that, and that's great. But then you got poor guys like Post Malone who falls on stage, bruises his ribs, and the whole internet's like, what a jerk! What, like his tracks kept going, and he's why didn't he, like, oh, poor baby. Like, it's like, dude, the guy literally like weighs 250 pounds, fell through a hole in the stage onto his ribs.
And apparently he's like a super nice guy too.
And finished the show.
Yeah.
And they sing to doubles. And I don't think people understand that. Like, I mix a lot of shows, like hip hop shows and stuff, like as a front of house. And what they're doing is they have a doubling track a lot of times. And sometimes the doubling track's mixed a little hot and it's really hard to differentiate the two things. Right. And I find that immediately has less of a connection with the audience than the artists that only double sometimes and then have like a quieter double or a louder double in the choruses. And they use that double as a dynamic tool in the mix. So if it's done correctly, I think it can have a really, really impactful element to it. But everyone was just on him. And I was like, guys, like, why, like, what did Post Malone do to anybody? Like you said, like, apparently he's like a super nice guy. Yet, we let Clapton still put out albums, like,
I know.
He's such a jerk. Anyway,
he's an overt racist, is what he is, and he still
doesn't have to get into that progressive politics stuff. But it's definitely, I think about that stuff a lot too. Just watching what gets people upset, just being like, and like,
I think people just like to be upset.
One thing I've noticed is there's like this weird thing going on where it's like everybody's angry about this, and I'm like, I haven't seen a single person angry about that. I don't know what you're talking about. Where are these angry people? And
it's what they get shown, right?
No,
if you and I were to Google the same exact phrase right now, we would get different search results.
And I know they're out there, but at the same time, I am wary of manufactured
it's all fake.
Dissonance.
It's all fake.
It's not all of it. No. There are definitely moments where it's like, a lot of people mad at Dave Chappelle. That was real. A lot of people like mad at like upset about certain things. But like, I never saw a single person mad about like a lot of casting things. They invent this thing I've noticed. It's like before I even know what the movie is, I'm hearing about how people are mad about how it was cast. And I'm like, I don't know if it's real or not. I'm like, is this all like, is that what they're doing to just get people talking about their movies?
I think so.
Very sneaky.
A great, what was it? Oh, I was talking to somebody about this the other day where Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
So Red Dead Online was dying off. Okay. And a couple months ago, everybody had that like funeral because they're like, oh, they're killing Red Dead. And so on the game, everybody goes online and in each server, they're just having these fake funerals for Red Dead Online. Right. Well, just a couple weeks ago, they released a new update in response to Red Dead dying. They're like, well, because of everybody was so into it, we've released this new update with new skins, new missions, new things. It's like, that would have taken months and months of work.
They were just waiting. They had it. Yeah, they had it.
They weren't killing it. They just faked it. They faked it.
And, there's I think a lot of social media is companies or like promotional companies, they're getting pretty wise to how, because people are pretty predictable, like in regards to certain things with their online response to stuff.
Sonic the Hedgehog.
But I mean, I don't think that one was planned. I think they actually were going to put that out and everyone.
You're telling me in a world where it takes hundreds of people to make these CG movies and design teams.
It depends.
It really depends. Released an image of something that was so grotesque that there wasn't a single person in those teams to be like, hey, we shouldn't just use the source material.
I could see that one going either way.
And then they're just like, oh no, we're gonna, and it's like they put it out, it gets leaked, and then all of a sudden somebody is like, oh, but it should be like this, and some random guy all of a sudden puts out a fixed version of it, and people are like, yeah, it should be like this, it should be like this, and then they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, who's the guy? Yeah. I mean, it's possible. Do I think that it's also possible that like they could use the same tracking?
If they're not doing it, they're dumb. They should be doing it.
I'm sure they are. Like there was all like everyone's mad about Buzz Lightyear not Tim Allen. Like Tim Allen doesn't own.
Plus, he was the toy. He wasn't the real Buzz Lightyear. I know,
it's like it's not even canon. It's
a kids movie.
Canon for Toy Story. We're talking about canon.
It's a kids movie.
And I'm like people don't understand that like no actor owns the creative rights to anything unless they wrote the movie.
Right.
And that's like a fundamental disconnect again culturally with what's going on.
Entitlement, man.
Don't care about who wrote it, who produced it, who directed it. They care more about the guy who voiced it and acted.
Right. Like,
have you no sense? Like,
did you watch
they
Kenobi?
Didn't create it.
Did you watch Kenobi? Okay.
No, I'm not, I watched my Star Wars. I'm not like.
No, okay, but it's exactly what we're talking about. It's but it's the opposite, the inverse, not the opposite. It's the inverse. Everybody loved it, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm trying to like it, and I'm like, this is just a poorly made show.
Was that McGregor doing the?
Yeah, they brought him back.
Best Obi-Wan impression,
and he's great. He's great. It was like all of the pieces were there for it to be good, and it just wasn't. And I was just like, it just wasn't good. And I was like, it's okay to have a bad show every once in a while, but it's like they're trying to hide that they fuck up.
Right.
It's like, it's okay to fuck up.
Yeah, and I mean, like everybody's. I don't go online and voice my opinion about movies.
Me either. I just read it because it's hilarious.
I do think about it a lot, and I do see a lot of people just like a lot of people just love. And like, right now everyone's all about Dahmer, and it actually gave me nightmares. I've never had the show give me nightmares before. But
you watched it? I haven't watched it. I can't.
I've watched a few episodes. I've concluded that all these years, Joe Pera has been doing Jeffrey Dahmer as Mr. Rogers. That's his whole shtick. It's either that or what's his name? Evan Peters is just ripping on Joe Pera. Like Joe Pera.
I love Joe Pera. Joe Pera is the best.
Watch Dahmer and then watch Joe Pera and tell me it's not the same voice. It is like you close your eyes and it's eerie.
It looks like
either
you
Joe
guys
Pera
are making
has
some
a vat
pancakes
in his living room. Yeah, like
could you put some chocolate chips in those? Yeah, we could do that. Okay. He's the best. I love Joe Pera. He's so good.
Yeah, he's I think that's why it's funny though, because it's actually like this weird like.
He's so wholesome.
But he's talking like a known serial killer.
Yeah.
Like he's doing a Jeffrey Dahmer impression.
Right.
Yeah. But the content is pure Mr. Rogers. Like he loves you.
Yeah.
He loves everyone.
He's so good. Oh man. I've watched I love Joe Pera so much. I went back and tried to find videos of before he started doing the
just
persona.
To see if it's a bit. Yeah.
And his regular self is kind of like that.
But
he plays it up. Once he realized when he played it up, and I think he explained it in an interview or something that he's just like is kind of like he knew people like in his family who talk like that, and
it's a very Midwestern thing, I think. Yeah,
and so he just tried it one time
amongst a certain place.
Yeah, he just tried it one time, and it kind of like really took off, and people really liked it. So he just kept playing it.
It's a lie. He's basically watched hours of footage of the Jeffrey Dahmer trial.
No, I will say he is actually like I would say he's like 90% of the way there, and then the extra 10% is what we see on stage. But he is like very, very close to what he is on stage.
I believe it. It seems pretty genuine. I just think it's so funny to me that they're so alike. Like,
man, I have to watch this now.
It's so funny to me. Like, I put it on at work for 2 seconds, and everyone started laughing because it's so funny how similar it is.
That's I wasn't even going to bother watching that show, but anything to do with Joe Pera, even if it's indirect familiarity with Joe Pera, I will watch it.
Just don't even watch. Just put on the preview where he's talking to his neighbor.
Just the audio. Hallway, just have it playing.
Just like, oh my God, it's literally it could be
Jeffrey Dahmer talks you to send sleep.
Joe Pera should go on SNL and be doing Jeffrey Dahmer sketches.
We'll send him an email. I bet he would respond to his social media DMs. I feel like Joe Pera would
tweet him. Yeah,
yeah, just be like, "Hey, Joe,
have you ever considered a parody of a Jeffrey Dahmer parody sketch?"
Right.
Yeah, that would go over so well.
Now's the time to go to strike while the iron's hot.
I think Chevy Chase used to do Dahmer
Oh, really?
Yeah, in the early years.
Oh, that does sound familiar. It does sound familiar. Man, Chevy Chase.
Wait, but yeah, I think I saw footage of that. No, it would have been after the early years because when did Dahmer? Anyway, whatever. It's
This is what the podcast's all about, though. Going off on tangents into weird places. I did not expect Joe Pera to come up, but I love it. I freaking love Joe Pera.
It is because I that's something that's been bugging me. I've been texting my friends. I'm like, it's him. He's doing it's Dahmer.
I do have one question. I'll just ask it right now. I don't even know. There's really no rhyme or reason to this whole fucking thing. But I do have a question that I've asked everybody else so far. Is that if your younger self, it doesn't really matter what age, like younger, whatever you consider younger, like I think like teenage years or something. If your younger self could see you now, what would they say to you?
What would they say?
Yeah, what would they say to you? Seeing you,
probably in some respects, they'd be like, "Where did it go wrong?" And then in other respects, it would be like, "I never thought I'd get that far."
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's all related to kind of not understanding what it is that really holds a person back from what it is that they want to achieve when they're young, what they dream about, what they want, and also not understanding what it is that's driving them forward, you know. Sure. And those two things can be so at odds with each other that you literally go nowhere, you know, like
oh, I know.
It's a stalemate, right?
Yeah.
So there's my philosophical answer.
No, that's great. No, that's a great answer. I love asking this question. I thought of it before I started, before even the first episode. I was like, I like questions that shake things up in a different way, and it gets you thinking about, I don't know, where you were, where you're going. Because if you were to, everybody has the same answer to what would you say to your younger self, and it'd be like, I wouldn't say anything. I'd just punch him in the fucking face.
No, if I had something to say to my younger self, it would be, figure out find out what's bothering you, and don't project that onto other people. You know? Like it's not easy being you, and that's okay, but you have to understand that no one else needs to suffer because of that.
I think
it means getting away from certain relationships in your life too, to figure that out, you have to, the sooner the better, sure. you need to focus on yourself more, rather than just focusing on whatever it is, getting the band gig the next weekend, whatever it is. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I had a revelation recently, and it was, if I were to say anything to my younger self, it'd be like, not everything has an answer.
Yeah.
And not everything makes sense, and it never will. And just,
it doesn't have to be figured out.
It's like that great Picard quote from Next Generation. He's like, sometimes you can do everything right and still fail. Yeah. That's a brilliant series. I crushed that one when it was on Netflix too. The weird thing was I didn't watch it a lot growing up. Oh yeah.
But it stood up pretty well.
Oh,
aside from the weird episode where they have the Planet of Irish people and they sell them.
There's some weird ones in there. But they were doing, if you think television back then, they were doing so many episodes, right? They were doing
and watching that format too, and watching the season ending cliffhanger that you don't get anymore, really.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Netflix kind of has
they
stuff
try.
like that.
They try.
But it's not the same. Like it was a different vibe, you know, like
right.
And just that idea that everybody's tuned into that one thing at all times.
Yeah.
I think the only time I've experienced that later in life was, and I'm sure unintentionally, maybe I just didn't note it, but was when Gord Downie had cancer and they did the hip concert.
Yep,
and
that's right.
Canada kind of tuned in and was like, oh, we're all watching this together, like wherever we are. And, you know, sports has that element, but I've never been a big sports guy, you know, you know, some people obviously follow that, and like, you know, closer to playoffs and like big championship games, the whole country tunes into stuff, and like Olympics and things like that,
Super Bowl,
but things outside of that I hadn't really experienced, and that was one moment where I really was like, oh wow, like the whole country is tuning into this thing now. They're not taping it,
right?
They're not going to watch clips of it on YouTube later. Maybe they will, but they're wanting to watch it. They're wanting to be a part of it happening.
I'm pretty sure like the finale of Friends was like that too. I think
those shows were huge that way, right? Like they really had something different going on with cable television. Was just a different format.
Everybody was watching
the water cooler.
Even if you didn't like it, you watched it because everybody was talking about it.
Yeah, it's a funny thing. And like nowadays, it's like you binge watch stuff and everyone's at a different point with things.
Right.
You're not experiencing stuff simultaneously, and it kind of takes things out of it. And I think that's the draw.
We had a taste of it though. We had a taste of it with Tiger King because everybody was in lockdown. That was the perfect timing for that show.
That's a good point. Absolutely. Yeah. Tiger King had that. Oh, okay. I guess we're all watching this now.
Yeah. And everybody watched it at the same time.
And like now it's like we were bringing up Dahmer. Like it has that element to it.
Right.
Everybody wants to experience it, but you know, and it's definitely not the same as going out to the theater. And like, that's a struggling part of the arts industry too. And like, everyone shits on Marvel, and I'm like, it's not Marvel's fault. Like, I don't hate those movies, you know, like they're entertaining.
They know what they are. They're popcorn movies. It's like, they are, make it big, make it shiny, make it fun. That's it.
You know, and they're not completely devoid of any sort of like
no
morality, or they still have some tie to comic books, and the acting's not like, you know, just like there's some movies where actors have phoned it in, and it's not a Marvel flick. Like the one thing that really got me into those movies, aside from the fact that like they're tying together how many storylines,
oh my god, so many
functional, like it's not like, there's always going to be holes, but like it actually worked. Like when they got
and so did
like,
comic books had holes all the time.
Like, big time. That alternate universe series stuff. So it was really cool. I thought that was a cool thing from a writer's perspective, to be like, how are we going to tie all these
big challenge
movies together, right? And they pulled it off for the most part.
Sure.
But and all these different backstories and stuff, like it's a big challenge. But also, I know a big part of those movies is that they bring in the actors they bring in. They don't have, like, it's not like a Coen Brothers movie where the script is verbatimly reproduced by the actors.
Right.
It's,
yeah.
A lot of that stuff. I know the first Iron Man was completely almost, I think Robert Downey, Jeff Bridges, and who else was in that? Who played
Gwyneth Paltrow?
Was it Gwyneth? Okay.
Yeah.
I think they all essentially wrote that movie on set.
Yeah.
Like in the trailer, they came up with, okay, well, here's point A to point B, and we just need to come up with our lines.
Yeah, and Jon Favreau directed.
Jon Favreau was, but Disney gives them that freedom, and they make those movies popcorn movies. They make it entertaining.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's a lot of CG, which I have a ton of respect for. I really love that type of work.
It's crazy what they can do.
Amazing what they do these days.
That's mostly why if I see a Marvel movie, I don't even watch it on like at home. I go to the theater because I was like, I'm not going to watch it at home. I don't care. I will watch it in the theater because it's just huge, and there's 1,000 of people working on these movies, and it's like, just incredible.
You know, it all starts to be like, it depends on what you're appreciating about it. You know, like, does it suck when an actor gets tied into doing them for 8 years and doesn't work on anything else? Sure. But look at Jake Gyllenhaal. Like, you know, like you could be him too. Like, he's done a lot of really awesome flicks that are just so obscure and odd and dark and pet projects. And, essentially one man plays sometimes. Like I think there's room for both. I just think the conversation gets way too focused on filling a theater rather than having a community that goes out and supports a movie.
Right. Yep.
And we don't really have that. We are a lot of people that are waiting for that billboard to show up. We're not excited about so-and-so's new film coming out. Sometimes people get into it, like Nick Cage. People seem to have this weird relationship
with one true God, man. The one true God.
Waiting for his next film or whatever.
Yeah.
But the hard thing is with that stuff, for smaller theaters to do that sort of stuff, getting the rights is really hard. And getting people out, like we're losing the Roxy here I mentioned earlier. Like I think that stuff has a huge place, and I would love to see those things really succeed. And then the bigger theaters can have their crazy seats and Top Gun and whatever they want to do. And at the end of the day, we should still be able to support movies that are off the beaten path and watch them in a cinema, because you're right, it's a better experience for certain things.
Yeah, and I feel like this might be taking in a completely different direction right now, but I just want to say I feel a lot of these things are dying is because people just don't get paid enough.
Maybe I don't know the salaries and stuff. I'm not sure.
No, I mean like across the
you mean
board.
People don't have much disposable income? Yeah, that could be a big part of it.
Because it's like, if I'm gonna spend $30, I'm probably gonna spend it on food.
And you already have your Netflix subscription, so boom, there's your entertainment. Yeah,
and I feel like that's the problem especially with inflation and all the stuff that's going on right now and gas prices. It's like, I think it's just getting harder and harder for people to even go, even if they want to. And it's like it's hurting everybody. And
it's really unfortunate because that it's the medium, and sometimes the mediums, like the infrastructure for the mediums, needs to have some kind of support outside of just relying on ticket sales. Otherwise we lose the medium. And theaters are definitely one of them. I'm hoping someone buys the Roxy and we see it continue to be.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Like, I'm, me, I'm all for anything artistic, anything that brings people together and doing something creative, and partaking in something creative, whether that's music or art or movies or drugs or whatever.
Whatever it is.
Whatever brings people together.
Yeah, good safe environment for it. It's
set and setting.
Yeah. It's definitely, and I mean that's been, I've definitely just been taking a step back and just kind of watching the way all the wheels turn, and just watching, just like watching COVID show the chinks in the armor.
Yep.
And just seeing where the light's shining through and being like, hey, that's an opportunity, it's a path forward, and just seeing like, how do I fit into this? Like, am I actually thinking more of doing administrative roles? That being said, I still am working on music. I still have, like,
I doubt you'll ever stop, Brodie.
But I mean, like, am I going to be actively like promoting and releasing music? Like, it's music. There's joy in making music. There's joy in sharing music. There's joy in playing music with people. There's joy in creating music on your own. All of those things matter to me. It's just, you only get so much time. What are you going to put your energy into? What do you think, what is it that I have learned over the course of my life so far that I can apply and benefit the most, and myself and others the most with? And I haven't quite put my finger on it.
But you got time.
Yeah, if I'm lucky. And but that being said, I'm also still kind of like stuck in the old way of doing things and working on an EP and, playing in a ton of bands. And like, it's really hard to shift gears. And that's one thing I just like, I found a little overwhelming. Like after the pandemic, it was like getting back to normal. I'm like, whoa, wait, like, do I actually want to go back to everything I was doing before? Probably. And I've, well, yes and no.
There's some things, right?
And I've definitely I've put up certain, it's a slightly different approach. Like Adam Neely, actually, he said something really cool. And he said, there's 3 reasons to take a gig. One is the pay is good.
Mm-hmm.
which is, everyone can understand
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
The other is if the music is good.
Yep.
And the third is if I'm trying to remember exactly what the third is, but to me, I would almost add a fourth. I would say if the people are good.
Yo, yeah.
And then I think his third was actually like it might lead to other opportunities.
Oh, right. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So to me, I would add that fourth caveat.
If the people are good, of
yeah,
course.
like sometimes it's just good to get it together with people that you love and make some music, and that happens at a gig. And if it can happen at a gig, that's awesome. And it's led to some really cool opportunities for me that I think I've been waiting for a while, because one of my big frustrations living here, and that's my own fault for staying here, but I have my reasons. And
yeah, sure.
It's that the diversity is a big problem as far as being a player goes.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've been in groups that think they know how to play reggae. They don't. They haven't really done the homework, and
upstrokes on the upbeat, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. 1, 2, 3, 4, right? No, it's its own thing. I'm obviously not as well versed in it as people who've been playing it their whole lives, but it's definitely a type of music that I found really dear to my heart, and I never felt like I was playing right. I was always the guy being like, okay, here's what a one drop is. Here's how you emphasize 1 and 3. Here's how you actually count it. Because if you go ahead thinking it's counted like a 2-step or like a straight 4, it's not. It feels very different. And once you feel it, it's amazing, and it's a totally different thing. There's so much space. But recently, there's been a lot of people in the province I've noticed that are actually doing really great music that has influence in calypso and reggae, and they're doing their own thing with it, but it still has that thing that makes it what it is. It's not just like guys that listen to Sublime in high school, like
yeah. No, I totally understand what you're talking about.
And that's great too. Like I love that type of music too, but it's just a different feeling. And I've done that before, and it's really exciting to be like, oh, these like cool calypso type licks that I've always kind of had, but had no real place to put them, have a place now.
I've always had this idea ever since I was, I think, 17, for like a business. It's like a business idea, but it was like a gym for musicians.
Okay.
And you just have memberships, and it'd be for it's not a bar, but it's set up like one. And so it's like you have a membership, and you come in, and there's teachers on staff, and they teach not only instruments, but they teach sound, they teach setting up, they teach how to run a show, they teach lighting, they
show
teach
running, stage managing,
all of that. And it's kind of like a school.
I can't count how many times like it's just like sound guy's the stage manager, and like all of a sudden they're like being the sound guy. Like, well, it's one thing a lot of people don't understand. Like, and I've even had artists be like, how should I do my show? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm the sound guy, and but I'm also required to tell you when to get on and off the stage. And I need to know your input lists and everything. And there are a lot of people that just have no idea what any of that is. And it's
like me when I was 17 thinking of this idea. I'm like, I wish I could go to a place where I could learn all this stuff, because I was going to go.
We do have some things that have popped up that are definitely doing that. What I've learned since I've been listening to the bigger conversation going on around those environments is that everybody's nervous as fuck going into doing a show, especially if they haven't played and don't have a lot of stage experience. Their nerves are wild. Maybe they're an introverted person. Maybe they don't feel safe in that environment. Maybe they've been made to feel shame for not knowing how things work before. And the worst thing I can do, or a person can do as a sound person or as an engineer, is make them feel like they don't belong.
Right.
And the big message I'm giving to everybody that I work with on stage now is all I'm here for is to do whatever you need. If I reach a limitation with what I can do to help you, I will let you know. But I just tell me whatever it is you want.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've run into that don't quite know how to navigate yet is people that actually don't know what they want.
Right.
And being
Yeah.
like, now we have to figure out what's actually going to happen and
sure
work through it together. And it's a really hard environment to do that in because you're on a clock and you really have to make sure that everybody stays in a good mindset, because nothing shuts the whole thing down than people just being stressed and people thinking they can't do it. And that's the last thing you want someone on stage to feel, is that they can't do it. Everybody who gets on that stage should feel like they're able to accomplish what it is they set out to accomplish.
Sure.
Now, every artist also has to learn that it's an endless compromise too. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
At a certain point, there's only so much you can do, but the last thing I want to do is add to anything that might throw it off, So that's been a nice learning experience, and I'm still learning. It's hard.
And I think the whole learning and teaching aspect is the biggest part of all of this. Like, now that I've been, away from teaching for a while, like I'm still teaching, but like I've been away from like severe, like extreme teaching where it was like 50 students a week. What I realize now is like, I didn't have teachers, yeah, you can have a guitar teacher for half an hour or a week or something like that.
It's not the same thing. The focus is different.
Yeah, like a mentor is even more specifically.
Mentor is something that, I think a lot of the like industry people would argue that that's the thing. You go to the conferences and you do all this stuff, but no, what you're saying is actually something that you can attend on a weekly basis or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Even a daily
daily.
Basis.
Yeah.
It boggles my mind how our SciAst and like tech institutions don't have an amp repair program or any type of guitar luthier type program. It's almost like we don't think it's something you can make money doing. And all of that type of stuff, I pay very close attention to.
Podcasting or game streaming or
how
anything
many people
like
have I
that.
had come into the store thinking that it's my job to teach them how podcasting works?
Yeah. Luckily, the guy at the store here told me. I went in just looking for equipment.
I haven't done it. I know what I know from teaching, but I can only do so much. Like, I don't have the experience, and it's again, like, all of a sudden now, how many jobs am I doing? It gets to be a little overwhelming too.
Sure.
As far as that type of stuff, because that's what people do. If they're only doing it for one day, it's the music store guy's job to tell me how to do it that day. And if I'm not able to do it, it's their fault. And it really, that's the one thing that I think I pay attention to a lot. It's a lot of microaggressions towards our work as artists and musicians.
I remember.
Prime example, where do you find musical instruments in Kijiji or like on like Used Regina or any of your used sites? What's the subheading? What's the hobbies and collectibles?
Yeah.
You don't see tools under that.
No, not at all.
So what the fuck? Like, we're using these things to make a living, and it will always be considered a hobby in the grander scheme of things. And a lot of people will be like, "Oh, that's nitpicking," but I think it actually says a lot.
No, it's a trade.
It's super symbolic.
We
don't look at it as a trade. To your point, that there's no school set up for the other aspects of the trade. You're expected to do all this weird like hobnobbing and signing up for this, paying dues for that, and driving to this place to do that. And there are some business schools. There are some places that do what you're saying, but they're more focused on the business and less on
exactly.
But they do some of that. They definitely do teach you how to run a live gig and do everything from start to finish.
I just imagine in my head,
you have to go to a bigger place.
I just imagine if you were a 15-year-old kid and there was like a place like Laser Quest, but it was just like stages set up. And then you just had teachers on salary who you pay your membership, you show up at any time that it's open. And if you're a member, you can meet, you get your app. It tells you all the people who are logged in, who've shown up, who play different instruments. And now you know, like, hey, there's a bass player here. I need a bass player to jam with. I'm going to go see if they want to jam, and people can put themselves as available, and you're in a physical space. Hey, look at that. There's a rehearsal room that you can book out. There's all of these things, and it's just like, hey, I have a question. I don't need a full fucking half hour to teach a kid how to hold a G chord. That was my biggest thing with like teaching at Long and McQuaid. I would go in, and these kids would come in. They're like 13 years old. All they needed was one thing to work on. And so you do that in the first 5 minutes, they kind of figure it out, and then you're sitting there for 25 minutes. And it's like, go home and practice, you.
Yeah, I mean, kids, like, one thing I've learned about teaching kids is it's more about just being a good hang. If they don't like hanging out with you, they're not learning anything.
Right.
You know, they want to look forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily look forward to playing guitar. That comes with time.
Yeah.
You know, maybe they will get excited about it at some point. Maybe they won't. My job is to try to find that one thing that makes them want to pick up the guitar.
And that's exactly why I feel like teaching in a tiny little room is the least.
It's confining.
Yeah, it's the least conducive space for teaching music. Music should be up and about and moving and creating and being like, hey, we're going to just play this song and I'm not going to tell you how to play it. Now here's a guitar, start playing.
Learning how to improvise and stuff. And a lot of people, like, they're scared of, like, it's literally probably one of the top 10 fears is like being like and probably top 3 for a musician. I know a lot of musicians who think they can't jam.
Right.
Which is weird to me, because it's like,
it should be the first thing you learn.
Not even the first thing you learn. It's just, it's a mindset. It's not, there's nothing to learn other than getting over this.
Right. There's no mistakes. There's no real mistakes. Real mistakes is like you accidentally ram your car into a 7-Eleven and you get charged or something. And that's a mistake. Playing a wrong note on stage doesn't mean anything.
If someone doesn't enjoy it or see the value in it, that's fine. But I think everybody has the ability to share music, especially like when you take into consideration that they could play percussion.
Triangle,
you know,
man. Underrated.
We're so focused on harmony in our like learning here,
like
I know, it's Western stupid. European harmony, which is its own conversation, but if you get everybody in the room playing a percussion instrument and working together in different rhythmical senses, you realize very quickly that everyone can jam. Like it's not just for jazz heads and guys that, you know, want to solo. Like, I personally don't care about guitar solos.
Me either.
I haven't for a long time. Is it part of what I do? Do I respect people that do it? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I think it's is it something that I find interesting in the context of most music? Not usually. It really depends on the composition and a lot of other elements for the guitar solo to matter to me. It's a melody, but we come out of this weird culture. I call it's guitar culture that, you know, I don't know if it was like this for you growing up, but the idea that one guy played rhythm and one guy played lead, and like somehow that. And that to me never made any fucking sense, because like, why wouldn't you want to do both? Like, why would you but that's marketing, and it definitely has nothing to do with making music in the capacity that you're talking about when you assign roles or you have an expectation, because you can't have expectations. So I mean, I think your vision's really cool, and it goes back to what I was saying about brick and mortar, like buildings where stuff happens. I don't even care what stuff, like, it's just
get messy, make mistakes, the Miss Frizzle fucking motto, you know, get in there. It doesn't matter. It's just like, my whole learning experience with music was being around people who were playing. No one, like, I was playing because my brothers played a bit and my cousins played a bit. Do you think they spend any fucking amount of time bothering to show me? They were like 10 years older than me. They did not give a fuck if I knew how to play guitar. But I could sit in. I could hold a guitar and sit there and watch and see how it's done. And so I learned that way. And I was like, I got this chord. I got to see it. And my brain figured it out without needing to be like, this is an A, this is an E. And then I add that on later. You add the labels on later. And it's
and one thing I've learned is, you know, not everyone's going to learn in the same way. And I've worked with a lot of like rock band groups and choirs and things like that, where you have to kind of coax people into doing something. And anything, just do something. And going back to your point about, you know, only having an hour or whatever to do it, you really have to find a way to connect with
kids. For teenagers, I already know how to do it. But they would never like, you couldn't suggest this at Long McQuaid. It's like, you take your male students, you put them in a room where the audience is all girls. And I swear, every single one of those kids will practice every fucking day.
Is that a Guitar World article or?
But
That sounds like that's a very Tom Jackson thing to say. I feel like that's something he would say.
I just feel like it doesn't have to be so like heteronormative, but I mean, like, you put them in front of their peers.
You want someone
pressure, man. Pressure.
Pressure, yes and no. I think depending on the personality type, you're going to get a lot of mixed stuff there. Some people might really excel in an environment where they have they're performing. Other people, they might recede. They're just not interested in it. I think the biggest thing is everybody needs to feel like they have a place, and that's the challenge.
But here's how it works itself out: is that if you make it with that focus of having the availability to take lessons, you have the availability to have the one-on-ones, but you make a push for people to have the space to work with other peers who are also learning, right?
Yeah,
in that space. And so then if you are already of the type where you don't feel good under pressure and you're there anyway, then you're already practicing. I never worried about those kids because they were already practicing. They were already doing their thing because they didn't need the pressure. They already had some weird pressure in their head. Usually they had their own reasons for it, right?
Yeah,
but I feel like most of them don't have that.
Like, competitiveness is a tough thing to manage, I think, because you don't want it to feel like someone should feel bad if they failed, but at the same time, you want people to feel good that they've excelled, and that's the challenge.
Well,
or that they've achieved something for themselves more than anything, because that's the one thing that music will always have over sports. You don't have to beat someone to do well at it. There's
I did lots of acting and improv, like comedy improv.
Right. Yeah.
And it's that's the idea. It's that when you're doing comedy improv, there's no winners or losers, but you're in a situation where you're competitive, trying to get laughs, trying to get reactions. It's a competition where you're not hating the person across from you. You're working together to compete with one another. It's like you're on the same team competing to win. And it's like the win is just, could we get a cool reaction from people? Could we get people to throw up if we needed them to? But that's the kind of competition I'm thinking of. I'm not thinking of like sports competition. I'm thinking of like this competitive rivalry of like, hey, you're awesome, I'm awesome. Let's see if we can out awesome each other and support each other in that.
It's a team that everyone's on. Yeah,
exactly. There's no losers.
I find that word competitive, like competition, gets misconstrued.
I'm sure there's a better word for it.
But there is definitely. I know what you mean. There's definitely healthy ways to be competitive, and it really comes down to being more competitive with yourself, but also understanding that there's a bigger goal. And that's one thing with music that is kind of intertwined with this idea of playing music together. It's the sum of the parts.
Yes.
And you do get that in sports, like playing on teams and stuff, and I totally get it. But that's sum of the parts. The end game isn't to, I mean, you can play in jazz bands and things competitively, but the satisfaction you get I'll never forget those times that I played with people that understood rhythm in a like in syncopation in a way that wasn't just 1, 2, 3, 4, like just tells you what your feet's doing. Very Protestant, like very like
exactly. Church.
But
not the church I grew up in. I grew up in a black church, so they didn't have problems.
Like it tells you what your shoulders do, it tells you what your hips do, and there's just a lot more communication going on. And those types of musics like funk and some like we're talking about like I hate the term Latin because I think it's just it doesn't really, it's not very specific. It's like so vague, but
so many different types.
A lot of Brazilian music and a lot of music that is very rhythm based. It definitely allows a lot more people to take part in it by adding something very simple. And once you're all experiencing that together, there's the art of the dance that goes along with it as well. And it's exponential how it really connects you to everybody in that room, but in a non-competitive way.
Yes.
You're not you don't have to impress everybody by putting the clave rhythm in the right spot. Once it's there, and you're a part of something. And I'll never forget the times when everything was right. And I think hours went by.
Yeah.
Time changes.
The flow,
man. Changes how you experience time. And that in itself is so meditative and so important, I think, for the musical experience. Yes, I value singing songs and writing lyrics and storytelling, and
sure.
I value jamming complex harmony,
Yeah.
and I enjoy four on the floor rock and roll, and I enjoy, everything has a reason. But to your point about improvisation and playing in that respect together, there's a very simple way to approach it that is very welcoming,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of the music we grew up with culturally doesn't allow it.
It doesn't
Country music does
allow for it.
not.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
has
No,
no place
nothing.
for it. If you want to jam country, you got to know changes. You got to, and there's no syncopation rhythmically. There's no place for a shaker really. Like it's very much what it is, and
Yep.
you got to know the vernacular, the syntax to be a part of it,
Right.
and it takes time to learn it. But there are other types of music that even looking at like seeing powwows and drum circles and being like,
I was just gonna say drum circles.
yeah, like
Also,
it's the same thing. Like it's got that.
like how the
I mean, there's a
Buddhists
lot
and
of
Hindus
other things
do
to
chant.
that, but there are ones that are just about including people.
Like chant is a good one.
Chant is a very meditative thing.
Yeah.
I think that's almost getting more into the strictly like meditative spiritual thing, and
Well, but you
less
take
out of the, because there's no dance element to that. It's a little
right.
different, but
Yeah,
it's definitely like, again, it has that really like, this
you
is
could do
about
the whole
all the voices.
right. You get the Queen.
This the sports anthem thing, yeah, for sure.
But that's what it does, right? Though it brings people into this unity, and then they lose themselves in it, which is just the flow of the universe, man. And then you're playing music.
It's that connectiveness that, in a lot of ways, maybe because we take our cell phones into Jack White shows, we're disconnected. I don't blame cell phones for every problem in the universe, but
I blame people.
I think there's some really odd things going on, like from a cultural standpoint, that that close people off. They close themselves off. They come into the music store and they're like, oh, what's this? I need reeds. I don't even know what they are. And it's like, why is that such a big deal? Like,
I have a hard time even thinking that those are even problems anymore. I used to think I used to get like kind of agitated by a lot of these things that are happening and people being whatever, but it's like, it's just super interesting to me now. Now I see like weird things that people are doing, or like how they treat their time and how they, get interested in whatever they're doing. And now I just like, this is super crazy. And it's like, I don't know if it's right or wrong. Who am I to say what's right or wrong?
No, maybe, and I understand where it's coming from. It's like one more thing as a parent you got to deal with in regards to, getting your kid into music and stuff.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be a chore. And it should start young in a sense that it's more about them. Like, I don't understand why these kids aren't coming into it having experienced getting to know other kids in environments with music in that same respect.
Parenting.
Well, I don't know. Like, we really focus on academia in the education system. It's not a lot of like just strictly like experience type learning. It's more just like, well, here's the structural things we have to make you functional in society, and while that stuff's important, there is like this other element of just like that music would have a big role in if you could measure results, and that's the problem. You can't, like, it's so
it's personal. It's a very personal thing where people
so
you feel it yourself how far you've come.
It's so what's the word I'm looking for? It's like it's not measurable in the same sense as 2 + 2 is 4. The mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. Like, it's not the same. Like, it's not the same measurement. You can't measure someone's progress in the same way. It's very subjective.
Well, and because this is, I 100% agree with you, and I would add on to this to take it kind of into the more spiritual realm of it, because having played as long as we have, I like to think of it as, I used to think of the word practice differently. I used to think of it as like, I have to practice, as if it was like a whatever. But now, and now it's more like, no, music is my practice.
You have a practice. Yeah. It's a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle. And that is not taught. That is not taught at all. And so people think of it as a hobby, right? They think,
right.
oh, that's just something that you can do. It's like whatever. But it's like, if you're really going to get in touch with music, it is a practice. And to be able to
and
sit in it.
It's not a lifestyle just for people who think they can make a living doing it.
Right.
You know? And that's one thing I've noticed a lot too. Like, just there's a big disconnect there. And,
it was turned into a commodity.
You know, and the exciting thing, well, and it's just about survival. At the end of the day, people just think that unless you're focusing on something that was going to make you money, you're not going to survive. And I get it. But
pragmatic.
You throw a ton of money at your kid hoping he's going to make the AAA, like, and what's the odds of that? You know?
Yeah.
What's the odds of somebody learning how to play enough notes that one day they might get to know somebody just by playing music?
I know, it's insane. What do you got? What do you got for me? What do you?
Well, I was just gonna say, like for me, like with this type of stuff, like going back to the idea of a practice.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much history in this instrument, and I'm gonna fudge my way through some stuff just to kind of like the way I look at it as a practice. You know, a lot of people will be like, okay, you know, they do their fingerstyle player, they do that sort of thing. I love the idea that person has spent a lifetime perfecting that technique. You watch Mark Knopfler or a lot of the singer-songwriters, trips me out. They put their bloody fingers on the guitar.
I do that.
I've never done that, and it just like messes me up. But it changes the sound. It totally does.
Yeah.
So as a practice, I'm like, okay, how can I make that a part of my playing?
Sure.
You know, I've got some kids, the kid just, like, I'm teaching, he just loves flamenco. And just learning that one pattern and working on that for 5 minutes a day is part of the practice. Just to see how much more pop you can get away, how much more dynamic.
It's like doing Hail Marys for Catholics, man.
Right. The other thing with the flamenco is like that style of playing too, which is like, you know, if you don't play like that every day as part of your practice, you won't get any better at it. You know, I've played with the pick a lot, and that's another thing. You know, hybrid picking, another technique. I've always loved guitar because it doesn't have one ubiquitous technical mastery. There are people who have mastered many techniques on the guitar and made it their voice. And I've always been so excited about that. Aside from even the harmony aspect of it, this is strictly like just like physically, how do you actually play the guitar?
Yeah,
you know,
it's like
sound out of it.
I would put it like, if I were to put an analogy to it, as like a tool, some people would say it's like, oh, it's like your hammer. It's like, no, I'd put it more like it's just, if you're a cook, it's your stove. It's your stove and oven.
Right. And what you put on there is like what kind of meal you're making, you know, like that's
exactly.
And like guitar is an exciting thing right now. You got guys like, is it Tim Henson and like Tony Abbasi and like all these guys doing like
so
their
many. I know.
Tapping. Like there are people mastering techniques in the last 10 years that are new, completely.
100%.
New. And like that's what makes me excited about the practice of specifically guitar. Like
same.
I mean, I definitely approach this instrument a little differently because I've spent most time with it, but it's that type of stuff I love a lot, and it really makes it so that I can share more with people too, because you know, you'll run into somebody that plays a certain style and you have some inkling of how to do that sort of thing, and then you can be a part of that. It's the same thing of being like, okay, well, I know a little bit about economics. I can fudge my way through a discussion with somebody who knows a lot and maybe learn something.
Right.
You know,
exactly.
like it really helps open up a lot of doors that I don't think I would be walking through if I hadn't had that type of outlook as to what this instrument has to offer. And it because it's in so many genres. You know, like there's some instruments they're only in that one thing, and
guitars
really
and everything. Guitars and
literally,
even if they don't show it, it's there somehow.
Yeah, like even like a lot of people, like, you know, like you were saying, like they think like reggae's
yeah,
but like it's more like
it's almost like more country, almost like it's almost got this little bit of a
there's that muting
shuffle.
that it becomes a percussive instrument.
Yeah.
And if you don't spend the time working on that little thing and making it so that it just comes to you second nature, you're not doing it quite right, and you need to spend some more time with it to make it feel as good, or you got to hear someone do it, or how, like, to your point, is there someone around that can show me, you know, is there someone around that I can watch them do it and actually be in the room with that person? It's a cool thing.
It's like if Tommy Emmanuel, if I could just sit in the room with Tommy Emmanuel for like
that
5
guy's
minutes.
He's one of these. Yeah. They're like,
oh yeah.
Fudge my way through stuff like
that. No, it sounds awesome.
I have enough that I can like. That's not the one I've worked on for years. The one I've worked on for years is and there's still room to improve, you know, like every day you just to your point about practice, it's like there are things that I will play for my entire life and never master.
Yep.
And that's what makes it a practice, as opposed to I just practice that, you know?
Yeah.
And you have to, an intent is super huge. Like, what is your actual intention? And a lot of guys, when I'm teaching them, a lot of people, when I'm teaching them, kids, you know, and you've probably noticed this too, they don't understand that they choose the tempo.
Yes.
And they choose how hard it is. And they also choose what they're focusing on, because if they play too fast, you can't focus on anything.
Exactly.
So you pick what you're wanting to do. And if you're able to do that, you're going to get things, you're going to be better quicker. Like, you're going to learn things faster.
It's amazing how much of this stuff does apply from like Zen Buddhism and stuff.
Probably. Yeah.
It's always like slow, you know, slow. There's no destination. You are here already. You're already playing guitar. If your end goal is to play guitar, then you have succeeded. It's like, get specific in your practice.
Yeah.
If you're like, I want to play like this, or I want to play these specific techniques, great, now you know where to go.
And then also, like, being able to put your own spin on it. Like, and a lot of people, like, I think maybe they don't understand, or they don't value a genre, for example. So they think that like reggae is a prime example.
Mm-hmm.
We're going back, like there's a subtlety to it that they might miss because all they're hearing is
yeah
right. But like even in a boogie woogie,
yeah, exactly.
Like, it takes years and years to just even do that, and you know, it's maybe not the most like exciting modern thing, but when you get a band together and they all start playing something like that and it works, it's
one of those
to do for one number, and you know,
it's one of those things where if you take that, and if you can do it, which, like you said, it is something that takes years to get good enough to be able to do it like consistently. I busted it out at like an open jam, and people eat that up because it is something that they don't hear very often, because most people at like an open jam are playing G, A minor, F, and C, whatever, just because they're doing
jams around here are a lot pretty blues based. There's a lot of blues.
Yeah, or blues. Yeah. And so it's like, if you can bust out like a country shuffle, or, you know, like, where's mine? Yeah, like just like what you're doing is like that. You know, something like that, and you get that tempo, you're setting the mood for the whole room, right? And yeah, just have to show me up every
Yeah,
like we're gonna change the name of this to the Moniker Project podcast, and you just teach me how to play guitar for.
Oh man, no, that's a good groove. I wish we could actually just get into it. It's I'm just feeding off what you're doing.
I don't know how much of a lag. Let's just do like a minute of it. If there's a lag, then I can always edit it out. But right. I just want to do it anyway.
Okay.
Okay, there's too much of a lag.
Yeah, it's cool though.
You know who's great? Billy Strings.
Who's that?
Billy Strings. You ever heard of Billy Strings?
No.
Oh my God, he's a bluegrass dude, but he is just one of the craziest motherfuckers on an acoustic guitar.
Like bluegrass is wild, man. The tempos are insane, and there's just like some hot pickers. There's some great pickers in Saskatchewan too.
Oh yeah, like, definitely.
Yeah, like they definitely. I appreciate the ones that have done their homework, man. Like it's not an easy genre to just pick up and go.
Oh yeah, which way do I gotta go? Yeah, see, I've got my fingers on the.
yeah, it's funny because I see people do that. And I'm like, I never do that. I'm always like. Nice. Yeah, those rags are great, man. Yeah, no, it's a lot of fun stuff. I like that stuff. And I had an era where I wrote songs like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And if you want to be sentimental, all you do is you take that same thing and you just slow it right down, and people be like, "Oh, that's so peaceful and nice." Yeah.
But for me, it's about the speed.
Yeah, of course. just incredible.
I just had I played that stuff for years. Thanks. But to me, it's just another thing but I'm always moving forward, and
right.
It's, I got caught up a lot of times because a lot of times people be like, "Oh, you can do that. Now I want you to do that with my thing because that's my main focus, and that's what I do."
Vampires, we call them.
a little bit time vampires, but they definitely want to just live in this era that and you could do the OSAC tours, you could tour every small town in Saskatchewan and play stuff like that, and people would love it. And for me, the well runs dry. I just don't feel creative anymore. But I still respect the work. Like I still think everything that was done by those players and people who still continue to push it, like, Tommy Emmanuel's a little older now too, but those guys, they definitely have, something going on that's really cool. They'll arrange their own songs, like versions of songs. I think that's really big. You got to do your own arrangements of things, and to really make that stuff work. And if you can find something that hasn't been arranged and kind of make your own arrangement, I like doing jazz tunes and stuff like that with that finger stuff. Fudging it up. I usually play it on the electric. Yeah, it's not happening. But yeah, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Where you're kind of working on kind of doing more of like a full arrangement on the guitar, like those types of players that do
bass, melody, and accompaniment.
And there are people that are doing like tapping and then all the percussion stuff, and like that's just like there's always somewhere else to go. Like there's always someone out there doing guitar better, and that's the cool thing about it. To your idea of healthy competition, like I'm inspired by that for sure.
Yeah, and I like to think of it more like I'm even with the competition thing. It's like I used to think like, oh, I want to be the best or whatever, and I was an idiot. I still am in other ways, but I like to think of myself more of like an explorer, like a musical explorer, because it's like, how can you be better at somebody in going to a place? It's like, I went to Regina. Well, I went to Regina better. It's like, I don't like, it just sounds so stupid, right? But it's like,
yeah,
I tried fingerstyle. I tried
and then they
tapping.
invent awards for things, and
yeah,
you have to you apply for the awards. I always thought that was fun.
I know, it's so dumb.
It's so the way it works, man. I don't get it.
It's like, I'm gonna win an award in meditation.
Yeah, and that world's it's really more about like how much you are working to connect with people and, you know, promoting yourself and doing that type of stuff. That's really what I think, you know, at the end of the day, that's what we're rewarding, because people want to know that an award is going to somebody that they identify with as somebody who deserves the award. Sure. So that's what it is.
They can have them.
If nobody knows who you are, they're not going to say, well, that person deserves that award.
Yeah, I used to care about things like that and think that I wanted that. And then now it's like, I like being the guy who's just like, I can fall into it. If I'm playing by myself, I can fall right into it. You know, I fall into it, and I don't, you know, it's like it's like playing the best show ever, and I can just, boom, right there. And that's why I wanted to be a guitar player. And it's like, that's the moment I can get at any moment. And so it's like, now if I play for other people, it's more like people who are open to that kind of idea or that kind of thing, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, you could really just find something in the instrument that's for you. And that's the biggest thing. I would love to get to a point where all of these different styles that I'm learning, I just had some sort of way of flowing together and working their way.
Bigger. But I think it's already happening, but it's hard to see it for yourself, right? It's hard to see it for yourself.
Because there's definitely like always something else that's...
Yeah, it's an endless journey, tricks, man. Right? It's an endless journey, and you know that.
Yeah,
it's an endless journey, and there's no destination.
Yeah, and like, I mean, at the end of the day, so I'm also, you know, the singer-songwriter guy, as much as like I've kind of pulled myself back from that world and just kind of been not the side guy, but doing more like working with other people's projects. And I definitely still do that stuff. And, you know, it means a lot when guys like you are pulling up old songs and saying they do it for them. And I am probably releasing a record here at some point. I really want to get some visual content together and start working on like more stuff like that.
Yes.
You know, getting into Premiere Pro and doing all that stuff myself. It's daunting, and like time is tough. So
it's only daunting if you think it needs to be good.
Well, no, for me, it's like I would want to do certain things, and I just have to sit down and take the time to do it. And I've learned that, you know, with no deadline, you can just pick away at stuff. Whether that's one day you just find someone you like that's writing reviews, and you go, hey, can you write a review of this? You send it to them, and you have the review.
Yeah.
You don't need to, like, everything you do doesn't have to just be like, oh, I got it, it's got to go out.
Right. Exactly.
You know, like, I'm compiling tons of different art and a bunch of different music and work that's going to end up coming out all at a certain point.
Sure.
And it's going to be cohesive in a sense because it's all related to what I've been doing, but it's not necessarily something that I rushed to do in 6 months because, you know, you have to announce your release date and then you contact the press and you do this.
Yeah, fuck all that.
I'm so done with that type of stuff, man.
I hate it.
Yeah, it's just, this is a much.
And there's no need. There's no need. You just release it when you want to release it. It's self-distribution. Yeah.
And releasing everything at once just to be like, okay, well, I'm done. Now what? You know, like, being able to do a song, you know, watching people just, you know, put TikTok videos up.
I know, it's incredible.
Promoting stuff, and it's like, I'm not really doing that, but I get it. I get it too. You know what the value is there.
I'll get lost in it. Sometimes I'll just watch guys playing guitar. I'll even just search a specific song, and I'll just watch 100 different people playing the exact same song just to see how people are doing it differently, and just be like, you know, you kind of just feed yourself whatever you're trying to get interested in, or change or shake things up. It's like, I don't know. I like doing the old songs. Like, I have a friend here in town that he's a drummer, and we just jam together. But he's a very different type of drummer than any person I've ever jammed with before. And so it's like, for me, it's really weird and different. It's like, and I try to just do songs I haven't played, in a long, long time. So I'll just go and jam, and I'll just have a few drinks, and I'll be like, what about this song? And I'll try to remember the song. Even if I never learned the song, just try to remember the song and take that into my practice. So my new practice is like, can I just play something based off of memory of hearing it?
Right. Just pull it out of the ether.
Exactly.
I know a guy, I work with a guy, he can do that with songs. I don't know how he remembers the words, but he can, and it's crazy.
It's super, like, all I was doing it the other day.
Chords out of nowhere, and it'll be like, it may not be the right chord, but it works.
Yes, exactly. And then you're just like, whoa, that was weird. Where'd that come from? And I can do it sometimes with certain songs, and it's just like, okay, I just got to practice it. Just practice and keep doing it. And eventually,
it's a muscle.
someday I'll be busting it out.
Yeah, it's Pete Oldridge. He works with his band's a great fuss, and he used to work with Hoja.
Oh yeah, Hoja.
and I think like being a singer and working on harmony and words, that being your focus, probably really helped out a lot.
Sure.
But yeah, he could do that. Someone can just yell out a song and he'll fake his way through it. I don't know how he does it. I don't even know if he knows them. Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm like, have you ever played this before? I don't even think he has. He's just like,
and I think part of it too is because of, like, if you know harmony and what sounds good together, it's like most people can't recall what it's supposed to sound like. Like, that's a whole thing in itself. Yeah, they don't know exactly. Like, if you just got an average audience, sure, you're gonna have a few musicians in there or whatever. But if you're okay, I need you to sing me a C chord.
No, and he's definitely like, he understands that sometimes the show is people being able to be a part of it by calling out their favorite song. And,
exactly.
He's really good at that. I can't do that stuff. I'm terrible at that. Yeah.
Well, it's because you hate people. No, I'm just kidding.
It's like, you want something from me now? Get the fuck out of here.
You sit back and listen to this fucking magnificent guitar playing. Just shut the fuck up.
You need to buy at least 7 more drinks so the bar ends up having enough money to pay me, and then we'll talk. Your liver
sad
needs to die.
Truth of
like
that.
You need cirrhosis actually before I get paid, so that this all works out for us.
Then we can, if you die, then we can shuffle another person in off the street to buy more drinks.
Oh my god. Yeah, man. Well, we're coming up on like just over 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah, that was. I just got lost in that, Brodie. That was fucking awesome. It's so
I could do a song to take us out here if you want.
That would be amazing. Let's do that. I'll even shut myself up here.
Like I said, and thanks for having this platform, man. That's awesome. I really appreciate it.
Fuck yeah,
it's nice, and I like the opportunity to do something like this is really cool. And yeah, I hope. I mean, I'd like it if you played a song too. I don't know if you got anything up your sleeve as well, but
oh god,
think about it while I'm playing.
Sure, okay.
If you can, I'd like to hear it. But this song, I've got like a version of it that I've been working on. I tried to do this last album pretty much completely in the box. So like the guitars are straight in, drums are all done on pads and stuff. So it's a very different vibe from what I've done in the past. Okay. So it's really interesting going back and being like, okay, how do you make an acoustic version of this?
Sure.
So this is a song that I first started writing years ago when I realized I was addicted to my cell phone. And Megan Nash and I actually came up with the concept of writing a song called Phantom Ringing. And yeah, you'll get the idea.
Sure.
I never wanted anything, I only wanted everything, and everything was anything. Sometimes the closer that I looked at it, the more it became infinite, and wasn't what I made of it, just like string line. That damn blue light in my eye leaves me bittersweet and incomplete. And I'm moving on. That phantom ringing eyes. I never wanted information, I only wanted confirmation. All I got was explanations. Oh no.
That's all good.
Sorry,
that's all good. It sounded awesome.
I might have to call it. I don't know. Sorry, sometimes that happens to me.
Hey, that's all right.
Why? I was just rehearsing it.
If anybody's gotten to the over 2 hours mark in this, they understand.
Oh my God. Okay, why? Do I have the lyrics written down to this? That's so weird. I'm definitely not getting past
This is what I like about this podcast, though, because the whole point is about the creative process, and this is part of the process, and these are things that happen.
And I've done this a handful of times, and it's funny, like in this context, it's just I hit a complete snag, and I don't even think I have these lyrics written down anywhere. Oh,
writing down lyrics is overrated.
Wow, completely blanked out, man. I don't know why. Maybe I'll do a different song here.
Sure. Whatever you want to do, man.
Since you were playing it before, I'll do Punching Bag. I know that one. Maybe it'll come to me.
Punching bag. I could be a Caroline's wheel. I could be a halftime field. You could be my porno mag. I could be a punching bag. You can draw your skulls and bones. You can worship all your stones. But I know I'm just a bridge, here to take you across that ridge. And when we get there, you'll let me know. There was a day you could not keep time. I tried to ease your worried mind. You were lost, but now you found how to turn yourself around. I might have shown you what to think of, out of spite or out of love. I can't always be your side man. You take my time with each grain of sand. My house of cards became your home, but you are not its cornerstone. I cannot always be your side man. So show me something with that old time feel. You could be my polished steel. You stay hidden in the sheet while I slowly change beliefs, waiting there to cut me deep. Do you have have any dreams to trade. No, 'cause I won't be no punching bag. No punching bag.
Whoo, boy.
Whoa,
That was awesome.
It's been a while.
Yeah, no, that's great. Fucking sounds great.
Thanks, man.
Oh man, songs. Oh man, I did not even. Well, I've never even played guitar before. I don't even. You pull one of those. It's like, what's this thing? I don't know.
Oh man, I'm so bad for that. Actually, I know exactly. I'm gonna pull this up. But yeah, do your thing, man.
Okay. This is a song that's not mine.
Okay.
Let's see if I. I've been traveling over mountains, even through the valleys too. I've been traveling night and day, been running all the way, just trying to get to you. Ever since I read your letter, when you said you loved me true. Well, I've been traveling night and day, I've been running all the way, babe, just trying to get to you. When I read your loving letter, then my heart began to sing. There were many miles between us, but it didn't mean a thing. Well, I just had to reach you, baby, in spite of what you put me through. Well, I've been traveling night and day, been running all the way, babe, just trying to get to you. Oh yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Nice.
That's Elvis.
I've never heard that song. That sounds like such a classic.
Yeah, Elvis, man. It's from his 68 comeback special. Just sitting around. The performance is so good. He's just sitting around this little circle with him on guitar and singing, of course. And then there's like another guy playing guitar, and then no drums. It's just kind of like a guy tapping on like a guitar case and
a box or something.
Yeah, and his charisma is just unbelievable.
I bet.
Like people are just sitting on the stage around them. It's just like, oh fuck, it's
classic.
amazing.
Cool. Yeah. Nice. That's a great tune. I'll take another crack at that.
Yeah,
song.
go for it.
It's bugging me now and I got it. It's like it was just such a brain fart. So yeah, it's that's the trials and tribulations of taking this song that you've like literally spent years on the arrangement of and being like, okay, now I'm just gonna do it with my acoustic guitar and my voice. In your brain, you're thinking of all this other stuff.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I never wanted anything, I only wanted everything, and anything was everything. Sometimes the closer that I looked at it, the more it became infinite, and wasn't what I made of it, just like string lines. That damn blue light in my eyes leaves me bittersweet and incomplete. And I'm moving on. That phantom ringing in my ears. I never wanted information, I I only wanted confirmation. All I got was explanations and lost time with no shoulder on that highway for my head when life is trying me. So I just keep on driving on and on. Yeah, on and on and on. There's nothing down that highway. No, nothing down that highway. There's nothing down that highway anymore. There's nothing down that highway. No, nothing down that highway. There's nothing down that highway anymore.
Ow!
Every light in my eyes leaves me bittersweet and incomplete. Ooh. And I'm moving on. Yeah. That phantom ringing so strong. Yeah, that phantom ringing so long. Yeah, that phantom ringing was carrying on. That phantom ringing's gone. I never wanted everything. I only wanted anything, and anything was everything. Sometimes, the further that I got away, I planned a year within a day. Turned myself off to come what may, and time flew by.
Yeah, boy.
So something like that. Redemption.
Oh, man. That's good.
2 hours of talking. There's that. One thing I want to do with my voice, maybe going back to your whole barf theory thing. I want to be able to make that sound of the modem,
right. Yeah.
That's the sound I want to hit one day. As part of my practice.
Yeah, that's. Oh, you'll get there.
Yeah. Everyone will just be like, "Oh my God, his voice cracks. Is he going through puberty?" I'll be like, "No, it's the modem sound."
I am for the 18th time. No, that was great, Brodie.
35-year-old, 35. Apparently, when you're 35, I guess your voice changes again. I never really sang much. I didn't sing properly up until I was that, in my 30s. So right. I don't know. I don't even know.
I totally get that. I turned 33 in a week, on Monday next week.
Nice.
So,
happy birthday. Early
thanks,
birthday.
Man. Thanks. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'll probably chill and just jam some music. I don't know.
Nice. You working on some paintings too?
God, no.
No, not much. You had a pretty expressive period there for a while.
I did. And then I still occasionally I'll paint. Occasionally. But it's more of I get into a mood. I still love painting. It's just more I love it in a way of you know what I'm really in a mood for right now? Painting. And then nice. I go do it. Rather than being what I was doing before was practice, paint every day, and I burnt myself out. And then,
but you got good at things exactly. that you wouldn't have otherwise, right?
Yeah.
You're working on stuff. Yeah.
And just with guitar too, I've spent many times where I'll have periods of guitar where I'll practice for months and months and months, and then I'll take a breather. I'll just kind of play, and then I'll get back into practice, and then I'll take a breather, and then I'll
Makes sense. You need that moment to kind of take a step back and look at what it is
and try different things too.
Why you're doing it.
Yeah, and stepping into different creative outlets also helps. It's okay, I did painting to kind of get me away from guitar. And then I stopped painting and playing guitar again. And it was just all right. It's just different kinds of feels, different kinds of expression, different kinds of...
Yeah, and it just gives you a different perspective when you get back to the other aspects of it. Yeah, it's great.
Exactly.
No, Yeah, that's one thing Joni Mitchell said that always resonated with me for sure. Yeah.
Well, dude,
man,
this is awesome.
Singing after 2 hours. Should have done the singing at the start and then done the talking. But okay.
Well, you've just taken the crown for longest episode.
Oh my
and
God.
we'll see
That's
if no,
it's just been good to catch up with you, man. It's been a long
yeah.
time. So like as far as podcast or whatever, to me it was just a good hang. So
yeah, exactly. And that's all I'm looking for, man. It's just having a good time, playing some tunes, and we'll definitely do it again. I even have the ability to do it live if we did like a live performance and we each did
honestly
a few songs.
I've had really good luck with that as far as like Facebook Live, like or just having like people tuning in to stuff. Like it's great. People love it. So yeah, if there's a way to do that, I know for me,
should plan that.
Facebook is really great. So
well, this can broadcast to Facebook as well, so we could do it through here and record it and put it to Facebook and do it all.
That would be absolutely stellar. Cool.
Yeah, we can have up to 10 people in here too, so it's like
nice. Yeah. Oh, that's rad. This is a great program. Yeah,
it's cool.
I'll have to look into it a bit more.
All right, dude. Well,
right on.
That was fucking awesome, and I will be in touch, and we'll just have you on again, and we'll just
so much,
chat
Steve.
up.
So good to see you. Glad you're doing well. And
fuck yeah. All right, dude.
I'll catch up with you soon.
Yeah. You too.
Take care, man.
Peace.